With war, rolling atlas thug, we here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast, we breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up, we won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast, where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling atlas thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling atlas thug, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast, where the lies will decrease.
Yo, yo. Oh, I'm dark. They put the light in my face. What's up? Yeah, right. Hey, JB. What's up, everybody? Jar Openers Podcast, episode 19. Starting to add up a little bit here, but it's been a fun journey so far. Hopefully, everybody's been enjoying it. We have Thanksgiving tomorrow, and from what I understand, there is no Tim Pool podcast tonight, so maybe we'll get a little influx of people coming over, even though I know we're not in the time slot right now intentionally, but people that are looking for entertainment, maybe they'll come over here. But oh, I see that. JB, you're throwing me off there, bud. That's good news. That's really cool. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So anyways, I'm Tyler. I'm the host of America First TV. Some of you guys are watching on X, some of you guys are on Rumble, and we're also up on YouTube. So you can find me on all three of those places. On X, I am at Worrell. And let everybody know who you are there, Atlas.
Yeah, I am Atlas Thug, host of Offensively Accurate. Actually went live for the first time in a while just yesterday. I'm going to get back in rhythm with doing that too. Resident Christian nationalist here, resident misogynist, resident far right, whatever you want to call me, whatever the left labels me as. And you can find me on X as well at Atlas_Thug_.
Nice. Yeah, I seen your your stream there last night. I only watched a little bit of it. We have been scrambling to get the house ready for my wife's family coming over tomorrow for Thanksgiving. So we're gonna be getting up early and cooking food and everything. And by the way, if anybody else is having family over, make sure you set your turkey out to thaw. If you haven't yet, you're in trouble. But we almost forgot the other day, and we started looking it up, and it's like, oh crap! I think it was Monday, and it was like the day for I can't remember the time frame, but I was like, oh, we're gonna be cutting it close, setting it out and thawing it. So we ended up having to thaw it in water a little bit, speeds up the process. But yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We have a nice little assortment of food and a bunch of pies and cookies and stuff like that I'm just gonna be tearing up, and I plan on being passed out at some point tomorrow afternoon. Taking a day off will be nice. What about you? You got plans?
Actually, so because our daughter was born like 10-11 days ago, something like that.
It was a Friday, right?
Doing anything Thanksgiving. Yeah, on the 15th.
Okay.
So like 11 days, right? It's 26, 27, 12 days.
Oh wow.
And she hasn't gotten. We're not. Well, I don't want to say the bad word. But she hasn't gotten any of her stuff yet.
Yeah.
So we're a little hesitant on taking her around a bunch of family, especially because there's a lot of other kids involved too. So I'll just be at home and then hoping that some parents can bring some food to us. So be relaxed.
Okay, that's cool. A little chill this year.
Yeah.
So you're saying you're not going to be able to wear all your MAGA gear and stuff like that, and own the liberal aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff like that, like I've been advocating for.
Funny enough, the majority of our family actually already is kind of MAGA. We actually only have,
Nice.
I think there's on my dad's side, there's one very, I mean, like hardcore self-identified socialist. But outside of that, she's the one who tries to convince everybody at the family gatherings that we're all wrong. So no convincing needs to be done in our family.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I just said that because I've been advocating for everybody to wear your MAGA gear and have those conversations with the people that think that Donald Trump is going to be the worst dictator in American history, and basically correct their lies with the truth that we know, and all that good stuff. And if they want to leave, they want to go to their safe space, just more mashed potatoes and gravy and pecan pie and stuff like that for us. But hey, what's up, Ohana? What's up, JB? I did see that, referring to JB, he asked right here, if you haven't heard, the U.S. brokered a ceasefire between Jerusalem and Hezbollah. I didn't actually hear that it was between Jerusalem and Hezbollah. I thought it was in Lebanon, but maybe that's the same thing, right? It's Hezbollah is not the Hezbollah is not the
Hamas.
the other. Yeah, Hamas. Thank you. Goodness, I couldn't think of it. Everybody's got all these terrorists got different names.
I know. And I think I read one that was like it only lasts for like 60 days. So it's not like a very like long-term thing. I could be wrong on that, but somebody made a post about how the fact that it's going to run up essentially around the time that Joe Biden leaves office. And so like that'll fall back into place once Trump takes the reins over again.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least it's something, right? And by the time Joe gets in there, or by the time Joe gets out of there, I should say,
Right.
Who knows what else they'll work out or what they'll start back up. But seems like it's apparently, let's hold up and see how the U.S. and under Trump is going to react and what they're going to do, maybe potentially type of thing. Whether that be because they're scared or willing to start making some money, peace through prosperity. I don't know, but I'll take it. What's up, Flednanders? Your name cracks me up, dude. Thanks for joining the Discord and all that good stuff as well. Remind everybody else that make sure you're hitting that like button. We do have a Discord where the family is growing, and everybody that does their own content and stuff like that, we promote helping each other out. I actually tried to create a channel within the Discord this week, and for us and Chris to post in, Chris Stockham, who has a channel as well, and I messed it up. So I deleted it just before the show, and I gotta remake it. But yes, if anybody's into creating their own content and all that stuff, we got a place for you to post your stuff there. And basically, like I said, we're just helping each other out and growing as a family of like-minded kind of individuals and stuff like that. But I see just me in chat, Billy Loomis, Ghostface 76th.
That's a cool one.
Yeah, first time here. Welcome in, man. That's cool. We got a lot of stuff lined up. Actually, there's been a lot of things happening in the news over the past few days. So we're going to kind of go through some of this stuff pretty quick. Then we'll go a little bit more in depth on some of the other things. But let's see here. Just me said
Donnie in here too.
It just me said we won't be active in chat today, but listening. So appreciate that. Yeah, Donnie's in chat. Forgive me if I missed you. Angry Yeti. The party has arrived. That's right. That's cool. I see Billy said, Billy Loomis, Ghostface 76 said tomorrow is just him, mom and dad for Thanksgiving. We're having a small one too, but we're not cutting the food amounts. We got a gigantic turkey. We got multiple pies. 2 nights ago, my wife and I should say, we both basically were working in the kitchen. She was working on this strawberry stuffed dessert that she makes that's super fire, and I always have to have her make me an extra batch. So shout out to wifey for making the extra batch. We've almost eaten the whole thing already. And then I was making the yeast rolls for the first time, so we're gonna see how that goes. Hopefully I don't blow it, because those are one of my favorite things to eat as well.
It sounds good though.
Oh yeah. Hopefully there'll be plenty of leftovers and won't have to cook for a couple of days at least, and we can send the family home with some leftovers too, but not too much because I'll eat leftovers.
Just feel that.
I'll send them.
Every Thanksgiving you have it for like 5 days in a row, but at like day 3 you're like, I don't know if I want to keep eting the same thing again.
I've gained 15 pounds. gained so much weight. I just feel I can't eat another pie.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate with this. I feel like I've probably gained 20 pounds since the birth of my daughter. I kind of gained that pregnancy weight as the husband, just alongside, and not being able to make it to the gym nearly as much. What's funny is I was normally sitting at like a solid like 210. I got on the scale the other day because my wife was making a joke about me, and I was like, okay, we'll see. And to my surprise, I'm pushing 240 right now.
Oh
So
goodness.
it's
Yeah,
talking up quite a bit.
you gotta drop that baby weight.
No, exactly.
So it's funny
It's-
because I can relate. It's not because of a baby, but mostly probably just because my age or whatever, which I'm not going to tell you guys how old I am. I'm gonna let you guys guess because everybody thinks I'm younger than I really am. But I've maintained my weight pretty much the majority of my adulthood around 150 to 155. And over the past 6 months, it's like I'm gaining 5 pounds a week. And I hit 204 the other day. And I can see my belly and I can tell my cheeks are getting fat and stuff. And I'm like, man, I gotta make it through Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then I really got to do this whole New Year's resolution thing and start getting healthy. I'm on pace to just blow up, really, as it is right now. It's
Yeah, you
crazy
can't set
because
it as a
I've never been able.
resolution.
Yeah, right.
Just
I've
gotta
never been
do it.
able to gain weight in the past before, even if I tried. Like, people would always be jealous, saying, "Hey, you just don't gain weight, do you?" But yeah, looks like those days they're ending. And at the same time, my craving for sugar has been increasing astronomically.
Well, luckily, I went to the gym earlier today. I was there for like an hour and a half. I forced myself to stay as long as I possibly could.
Nice. Yeah. See, I haven't done a gym for a long time. I used to be like, in high school and after high school when I was coaching wrestling, um, every day pretty much and doing, legs, upper body, however it used to be, there's all different regiments now that they recommend, which, uh, the internet back then wasn't as savvy as it is now when it comes to those things, which I kind of wish I wouldn't have missed out on, but it is what it is. But
Yeah,
I
no,
see
I
Greg
get it.
Thompson in chat. I don't know if Greg's ever been here before. He's looks like he's maybe over on your channel. Are you familiar with Greg?
I think Greg might follow me. Actually, might be one of my subscribers. Looks like he's
Cool.
he wishes we were going faster.
Oh. Yeah.
Looks like
Just
breastfeeding is supposed to promote weight loss. Let's get after it. Um, you know, I won't say here. I'll save my thoughts on that
That's funny.
for offline.
That's funny stuff right there. Oh, Hana, I saw that. I put it on the screen there. You want to see Thanksgiving meltdowns? Man, I'm hoping, that's going to be glorious if we can have a whole slew of new videos of families getting into it over Trump on Thanksgiving, seeing the storm outs and stuff like that. I'm sure there'll be some good ones.
No, yeah, it looks like Greg might think my title's clickbait. It's not. Trust me. I actually ripped my entire thumbnail from Benny Johnson earlier because I was
Oh,
shocked at what I saw.
Well, cool. Let's go ahead and we'll just start off with this first one here, which I wanted to include this little video. So let me scroll down my X as well here. And all right, I got that stage there as well. All right. So first thing up here is that one. Okay. This article from Politico. Kamala Harris is telling her advisors and allies to keep same thing, her political options open.
Freudian slip, man.
To keep her political options open, she could run again for president or California governor. You know what? I'm not in California. I feel sorry for any of you folks that might be in California, but if they want to make her governor, then so be it, I guess, at this point. But no, I think it'd be dumb for her to, I don't think she could beat any Republican in a presidential election, especially after this video that I'm about to play as well, which some of you probably have seen if you're on X, if you're active on X. I'm sure you've seen it, but because it came out yesterday. But Kamala Harris has been lying low since her defeat in the presidential race, unwinding with family and senior aides in Hawaii before heading back to the nation's capital. I mean, wouldn't that be nice? We can just peace out to Hawaii and do whatever you do in Hawaii after literally spending $1 billion. I saw a hilarious post from Kevin Sorbo the other day. Actually, I saw it just like an hour ago on X that he said Biden-inflation is so bad that even $1 billion couldn't win an election or buy an election or whatever.
Yeah, what was that article? It was like $1 billion war chest, and she ended up $20 million in debt. Although I did see some pushback on that said, it might be a bit clickbaity of a title, because I think there could just be the same way like you could be in credit card debt but still have money in the bank. I think that was kind of Tim Pool's point and a few other people's points. But either way, they did spend an exorbitant amount of money trying to like pay out to go on podcasts and such.
Right. And it's not smart. I mean, yeah, true. And it's not smart. I mean, I've heard that excuse or argument or whatever as well. And I don't know about you, but having just a couple $1,000s in credit card debt because of this whole Biden economy, the interest payments, the interest that I'm losing is off the charts. So I can only imagine what $20 million in credit card debt would amount to an interest that they're losing every month or whatever. So she better get that paid off if she's got the money sitting in the bank. Otherwise, it's just another example of how irresponsible they are with their own money or other people's money or whatever, which when you're trying to be the president of the United States and be the the most powerful person in the world, you probably should have a little bit better prowess when it comes to carrying credit that you're paying interest on when you actually have the money to pay the bill off. I don't know.
Right. No, it did a number. There's a few things here. We'll get to like the physicality aspect of the number that it did on her. But they're even talking in this article, because I read the whole thing a little bit earlier. They're talking about how they're trying to decide, should we move to California? Where should we set up our base of operations? There's a quote here in this article too that talks about one of our top aides doesn't think that Kamala wants to even run for governor. But again, 4 years is a long time in a political news cycle. So who's to say, she'll even be one of the top candidates then? There's a snap poll though that showed that she's got a huge lead over the rest of them. She was at like 41%, and I think the next one was either Gavin Newsom or Josh Shapiro at like in the single digits. I think that no matter what, because of what happened in this last election, she'll be a formidable name, but she's not a formidable opponent by any means. Right.
I mean, I guess 4 years is a little bit of time for her to sober up and get on the wagon or get off the wagon or whatever that is. I think get on the wagon. But privately, the vice president has been instructing advisors and allies to keep her options open, whether for a possible 2028 presidential run or even to run for governor in her home state, California, in 2 years, as Harris has repeated in phone calls, "I'm staying in the fight." I bet that was edited, but she said something different. She is expected to explore those and other possible paths forward with family members over the winter holiday season, according to 5 people in the Harris inner circle who are granted an anonymity. It's the word that I can never pronounce. Anonymity. Okay, sorry.
Anonymity.
To discuss internal dynamics. Her deliberations follow an extraordinary 4 months in which Harris went from President Joe Biden's running mate to the top of the ticket, re-energizing Democrats for ultimately crashing on election night, which, guess bears to be repeated that she was appointed. All the calls against Trump that he's a threat to democracy, and Kamala Harris didn't receive one vote from any citizen across this country in 2 election tries, basically. At least 1 delegate vote. She might have got some of the people's vote in that first 2020 run when she was going up against Joe Biden and called him a racist or whatever it was. But the hypocrisy knows no limits when it comes to these Democrats on the left.
All 10 of her supporters.
Yeah, exactly. And then to your point earlier there, we were talking about the $20 million in debt that she is. Apparently her campaign paid Oprah, paid Beyonce, paid all these people. And so, I mean, I guess they're her supporters. She bought their votes.
Yeah, it was the, what was that, like that sex podcast that she went on? Because that was the one that she paid like 10 million or something to go on.
Call Me Daddy.
Yeah. I could not think of what it was called.
It's
Yeah,
Call
but
Me
Payne
Daddy
and
podcast or something.
she got turned down from the Hot Ones. I saw that news report earlier. The Hot Ones turned her down for a pre-election interview. The one where they eat the spicy wings. I can't
What
remember
is,
the guy who runs it.
I can't remember that. I don't know that one. I've seen it. Is that the one where they had like Shaq on there years ago eating the spicy wings?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of like the famous celebrities go on there. Like the famous one is like Idris Elba, where he's like, "What the?" He's like spitting up. We get that meme, and then that's
Mm,
where I think his name's Paul Rudd, where he's like, "Look at us." So there's been like a bunch of like funny moments have come from that podcast.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I always remember if it's the same one, I always remember the Shaq one because he's talking junk on Kansas City, and then he eats the one that's from Kansas City, and his whole face just like his facial expression changes because you could tell he is on fire. Being somebody from Kansas City, we're always looking for stuff that from the
Right.
hometown or whatever, but which I'm not there anymore, by the way. So trying to dox myself. But I wanted to play this video because this is all, in light of her trying to act like she's gonna stay in the running. Patrick Bet David actually posted this, but I've seen a lot of other people posting it as well.
I
It's
love this
never
caption.
I know. It's never a good idea to record a video when you're drunk, especially when applying for the CEO position of the biggest company in the world. And a lot of people are saying that looks like she aged 10 years on her trip to Hawaii as well, which I was noticing that she aged quite a bit, just seemingly over her campaign, just in those
Yep.
last couple months. And as we kind of know, as the saying goes, that people that are president, they tend to age like at an accelerated rate, and they come out looking way older than somebody that is aged 8 years or 4 years, which Donald Trump is the exception in my opinion on that. But here, let's
Yeah.
play this
Well,
video.
what's crazy is like she didn't even run. She just ran a campaign and had the
Right,
age effect happen to her.
right, exactly. I'm gonna start with the volume low, just a little volume test, and then I see Fled Nanders actually said here. I'm gonna check this real quick. Kamala Harris is still registering Dems for money too via email, probably to pay back that $20 million debt. I saw something about Donald Trump floating the idea of showing grace and paying for it. And it's like, man, you better not use Republican donations. Like, if you want to do it out of your own pocket, I guess. But, that's not why we elected you. The majority of the Americans elected you to be everything they accused you of being, pretty much. I mean, and so quit trying
Right.
to cater to the Democrats, which is, kind of goes in line with some of these recent appointments that he's been making as well. I kind of feel like he's trying to be liked still, and I'm over that part of Donald Trump. I'm ready for him to just drop the hammer and be America first and represent the people that elected him.
Yes, sir. Amen.
JB said, "I'm waiting for her to shave her head and join the 4B movement."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Ohana said he loves the one where someone puts a bottle in her hand. I haven't seen that, but here we'll play this. It's only 30 seconds.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you. I just
So I'll never let anybody take your experiences from you. She reminds me of that like homeless dude on the corner that's like preaching, but sometimes he like rolls a 20, but she never would. Just totally drunk, faded,
Yeah.
hungover, trying to tell you your life lessons and stuff.
It's do you expect any better?
No, I don't. And I see here, Fel 350 said she should not be drunk. She's still vice president. Of course. I mean, what she does in her personal time off hours, I guess. But I mean, the fact that, I don't know, honestly, if you're president, if you're vice president, you probably should just stay 100% sober, 24/7, just in case an unforeseen event happens and you are your full attention and full wits about you are demanded from the situation. You know what I'm saying? So I 100% agree with Fel there. But it's just so crazy. Like she's literally like hunched forward, half slurring her words. She looks like she just got done like
Losing an election.
yeah, losing an election, but like she stayed up for like the last 24 hours, like taking care of somebody or whatever. And it's just such bad form. Like she threw her hair together at the last minute. It's just cringe. She can go ahead and
I got the
off the screen.
side-by-side comparison though. You're talking earlier about how she looked before she began her campaign versus where she's at now. And that's what I titled the video too, the Trump effect. I mean, and obviously the one is she's probably, again, like what you'd said, being misheveled and unwell. But it looks like the youth just got sucked out of her. And especially too, because when I found out that she's 60 years old, I was like, is she really 60 years old? Like she looks, pretty good for being 60. Now she looks like she's 60 years old.
Right. For real. Just look at that. That's crazy. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's like a Saturday Night Live caricature or something.
But like what House Leotardo said, they use Botox, and then Donnie said Botox or adrenochrome.
Right.
And maybe in like a couple years, she'll all of a sudden look completely flourished and all good again.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Sounds like the preachy single lady at the bar at last call trying to give me advice. Yeah, right. So funny. It's like, who's she talking to? Like, there's always so like just off base. It's like, really, who are you talking to? Because MAGA is agreeing with you. Like, we're still the same people. We're still going to hold Donald Trump accountable to do the same, the things that we hope that he does, and all this type of stuff. Like, okay. I mean, word salad like a mole.
No, she looks like she is the bartender who's been there for 40 years.
Right.
And you need her attention. She's like smoking a cigarette. She's like, what? Like, that's what she reminds me of.
Ohana said she looks more Indian now than ever. True.
She's got to pick. Before 2028, she has to pick. Or is she black or Indian? You got to pick one.
She's gonna flip back. If it's a Vivek, she's gonna flip back, and it'll be the battle of the Indians, right? I think that's where he's from.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I mean, he's from America, but that's his heritage.
Yeah, yep.
So
close enough.
Right. So, anyways, if she wants to be the front runner, like you said, there's a lot of time to change things, but in my opinion, a lot of all this stuff is going to be brought back up. And if she tries to run for governor, especially if she loses, there'll be a lot more to hold against her as well. So, whatever, bring it on.
Yeah, there's something about the timing as well. Like if she did run for governor and say she were to win, she would essentially have to spend like that 2-year term like campaigning. That's like kind of the time cycle goes on. So it wouldn't be a good look for her to even do that if she were to win.
Yeah,
and
true.
Again,
She'd have to do it right now.
To.
Yeah, she'd have to jump into it right now. I was wondering. I was like, why would she make that decision? Because it said in the article that they're going to make the decision over the holidays, and it's like, man, that's kind of fast. Like, wonder why it's such a stress. Like stress on the timing to do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah. Now that you say that, it makes perfect sense because she's going to have to run a 2-year campaign to try to win that.
Yeah.
So yeah, good luck.
You got to remain relevant too.
Good luck. Watch one of the things that she runs on is I went to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm sober now. Like it's a redemption arc type thing. You know what I'm saying? And finally admits that she was just drunk the whole time. Which
she apologizes for the cocaine she brought to the White House. She apologizes to the church. Yeah.
For real.
She probably would win some moderates doing something like that, to be honest.
That's funny. Hey, what's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up, Chris?
I'll get that room fixed in the Discord so you can start posting your links there again. Or not again, but for the first time. Hopefully, as the chat gets more active, we can kind of keep it clean by not posting our links in there and That's kind of the thought behind it, at least. But the chat and Discord.
This comment from Kukless is, "I thought black don't crack." Well, I mean, there we have it. She's Indian then.
Oh.
Problem solved.
Exactly.
Confirmed.
That proves it.
Yeah. Wikipedia told me.
Yep, exactly. So hard segue here. Let's move over to one of the other more recent things here in the news. And I hadn't actually seen this. I read it in the outline, but I hadn't actually seen this part of the story, which would be not hard to believe, but also just a continuation of, let's see. These guys are just going to have to trust that I'm reading underneath what's underneath the pictures.
If you hold control and you roll your mouse wheel, you should make it a bit bigger. It should get rid of that side stuff.
Oh, I gotcha. Is that how you just automatically zoom? Okay, cool. I got a button that zooms in, I think, or something. Oh, Control Plus, I think, is what I usually use.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Too big. No, okay. Perfect. But this one's from Zero Hedge. U.S. officials discussed giving nuclear weapons to Ukraine, which, I mean, would 100% demand a nuclear response from Putin, who the left keeps trying to say here before we get into this article. I've heard Piers Morgan say it. I've heard some other folks say it, that Putin hasn't acted yet. He's threatened to use nukes at every escalation, but he hasn't yet. And it's like, yeah, that's called restraint. That doesn't mean that he's not going to. You're just backing him in the corner further and further and further. And he's saying, look, I'll push the button. I'll push the button. Like, well, he hasn't yet. So let's just go ahead and take another step and see if he'll push it this time. It's like, yeah. Come on. Are you serious? Are you really, you're willing to risk nuclear war? Come on now. But this article is written by Tyler Durden. That's funny. According to the New York Times, U.S. and European officials have discussed a range of options. Excuse me, I'm adding words. U.S. and European officials have discussed a range of options they believe to deter Russia from taking more Ukraine territory, including providing Kiev with nuclear weapons. The outlet reported that Western officials believe the Kremlin will not significantly escalate the war before Donald Trump is sworn in as president in January. So, I mean, that's right along the lines of that ballsy. He's not going to escalate it. So let's escalate things on our side and do the things that he warned us against, because we don't think he'll escalate. It's just, come on, stop being pompous and stop risking, innocent lives, because that's basically what's at risk right here. Not to mention all the troops, but. Following the election of Trump earlier this month, the U.S. and its NATO allies began taking steps to rush weapons to Ukraine and give Kiev the ability to strike targets inside the Russian territory with long-range weapons. And so, it's one of those things. I understand we have a partial kind of alliance thing with Ukraine because they stopped their nuclear research or whatever years ago. So we have this bit of an obligation to defend them. And like in the Middle East, Ben Shapiro's favorite country, we also have an alliance and we have a bit of an obligation to help defend them. But whenever they start taking these offensive steps, look, we're not trying to fight all of the wars for all of these countries, especially when they're funding it, from a national debt that's like trillions of dollars, right?
Yep.
Our southern borders are open. American citizens aren't just like over here living the high life. Maybe once, to coin a phrase from what's his name, Jordan Peterson, once our bedroom is all cleaned up and tidy, then maybe we can start taking other steps to help other countries, like, I guess, out of surplus. But
how about no?
Yeah, but I still wouldn't even support it then. But I mean, it would make more sense, at least if you had like this surplus or whatever. But like you said, how about just no to the whole thing? And so American officials who were being briefed on the intelligence community's assets told the Times that weapons will not alter their challenging situation that Kiev is currently facing. U.S. spy agencies have assessed the speeding up of the provisions of weapons, ammunition, and material for Ukraine will do little to change the course of the war in the short term. So, yeah, definitely don't support just giving Ukraine nuclear weapons, high-powered nuclear weapons and things like that, especially to try to prevent Putin from taking more territory. Look, I mean, I felt like for a long time in my life, I felt like the days of conquering were over and the lines were kind of drawn, and yeah, there'd be skirmishes, but look, Ukraine is being conquered in some areas right now, and it's not because Russia. Here, I'm going to sound like some pro-Putin dude, but it's not because Russia is like, how do I want to say it? It's because NATO has basically surrounded Russia, and I think I always try to relate it to if China started putting bases and research facilities in Mexico and in Canada or in Cuba or whatever, we'd all feel uncomfortable about it, and we would demand that our government, or at least not maybe all of us, but I think the majority of the America First type of individuals would be like, yeah, we gotta do something about it, get these people off our borders because they're pressing into our territory, and so it's kind of a bounce back, and it's not like we would go and take over Mexico or take over Canada, but I don't know. I kind of try to relate it to that type of situation from Russia's perspective, just to try to have an understanding of what's going on, because I don't just from all the warnings and all the things that led up to this, I don't believe that Putin is doing it just because he has toys to play with. I don't think he would kill thousands or hundreds of thousands of his own soldiers, whatever the numbers are, just because he's got the toys to play with. I don't know. Maybe he would. I'm not making the excuse, but maybe that's just my faith in humanity shining through. I could be completely wrong. The dude is just, in it for the evil bloodshed. But
Well, I mean, a couple of things there too. The first thing I wanted to say would be about the China stuff. Because they don't even really need to. There, I guess, really, they haven't yet, but probably soon with putting military bases up. But they infiltrate in 110 different other ways, right? They finance
oh yeah,
a lot of different things. There's been spies over here, with what her name is, like Fong with what's his face? One of our senators, can't remember what his name is, and a
yeah,
bunch of different ways by like buying farmland up. So they have a way of kind of funneling influence that goes a bit under the radar,
yeah,
and is less effective or less jarring than if they were to actually just move a military base over. But the second thing I wanted to say in regards to the last thing you said, which is everyone kind of has this either or viewpoint of Putin, right? He's doing it and it's like this justified, or he's this evil.
Swalwell.
He's yeah, yeah, and yeah, Eric Swalwell, or he's evil and he's another. It's like the Hitler thing all over again. And this kind of stems from the post-war consensus that kind of broke and really became the religion of America and the Western world, which is anything that you don't like and anything that opposes the American liberal world order is literally Hitler. And so people kind of got to break out of this idea that if someone were to oppose the American empire, that for whatever reason they're outright bad is just wrong. I mean, we can all sit here as Americans and go, we shouldn't have been involved in this. We shouldn't have been involved in this. We shouldn't have been involved in this. And we see that. So to then see other countries who actually aren't third world countries be able to kind of get up amongst themselves and say, we're going to do what we can to prevent that coming here. We don't want your idea of liberalism coming here. I think you got to view it in the viewpoint of like, there are values that are being disputed outside of just military conflict, as well as just like land disputes. And Donnie's completely correct there, right? Ukraine is a rebellion. And even viewing it from that sense, the majority of people who were in Ukraine are like Russian speaking. There's a bunch of like inner strife at the beginning of this war where a lot of Ukrainians actually fled to Russia because they would rather have been on that side. And there was a lot of like support for Putin, even amongst people who were in Ukraine. And so really to top it off, it's like, it's not even really a dichotomy. It's when you look at what the American empire and NATO has done over the last, decade, even a bit longer, it's hard to justify nearly anything that they've done. And you look at who funds these things, the direction they're going. And you get to that Tucker Carlson aspect of like, just how satanic a lot of this stuff is and the things that they do push at the top. It's hard to not kind of bring it and be like, I understand why people would oppose us. I understand why people see America and NATO and our fumbling of these elections, getting Joe Biden to be in office, and just like be like, why? Yeah, why would we want this? Why would we want somebody who the people say, is Joe Biden really running America? But then you look at America dictates NATO. Well, all these other countries that aren't involved in our alliances, I would be extremely uncomfortable with that. And so you put yourself in the shoes of somebody who maybe grew up in Russia their entire lives and is watching as like a secondary party to everything we've done in the last few years. It's hard to not be like, maybe we shouldn't take everything they say as fact, or maybe everything we push isn't 100% good values. And so I think it's something to think about and break out of that, like that dichotomy that's presented in the media and in the narratives.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Forgot to unmute. Which brings me over here to, well, I was going to say too, just to add a little bit, there is a hard line for Putin not to cross. Like the gray area is in Ukraine, and that's where he's operating right now. But if he does touch one of these NATO allies, there is a very hard line that's been drawn, and a lot of people basically, and a lot of people think that if he touches, and I don't think he'll ever touch that stuff. The threat is how far is he going to take it and all this stuff, and it's just like, well, right now all we can go off of is what has been said and what has been done, and he's not touching any of these other countries, so I don't know. It's what I mean. It's just that hard line that's been drawn between, like, you touch an actual NATO ally, then there's going to really be, you're going to meet the full force.
Well, I mean, just think about the fact of the Nord Stream pipeline, right? I think we even saw the fact, I mean, shortly thereafter here in the States, most people was like, America did that. We took out the Nord Stream pipeline. So for Russia to be like what you said earlier, to be so restrained to the point that we still sit here and are like, are they going to do something? It's like, dude, it's kind of wild that they haven't acted on anything. But I mean, obviously, like I had said, I think previously in the last episode, you come at America, it's like you have to go all the way out. There's no like just attacking, an offshore military base, and then we don't absolutely try to wipe you off the face of the planet, because that gives you the green light, right? Or not even the false flag. It's just like you give America the sentiment and the green light for the American people to go, yeah, we should do it. I mean, that's all that it really needs. And so that's why they do so much with this propagation with the media, is because as long as they have the people behind them, they know even in the aftermath, if things get discovered, well, they can now blame the American people and be like, well, no, look, see, you guys were all behind it, no matter how much they might have been driving things and driving the tensions leading up to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go over here to this post from Nick Sorter. He was actually the guest on Timcast IRL last night. I thought that was pretty good episode. Been trying to catch the show a little bit more and more lately. But just in, Joe Biden is pushing Ukraine to lower the draft age from 25 to 18 as manpower to fight Russia runs low. And I mean, I think it was a year or two ago where we were already hearing that they were trying to enlist like dudes in their 40s and 50s and stuff like that because manpower was running low. So I guess this would be the next step after continually losing. I mean, this is kind of evidence that they're continually losing. We need more men. Like the guys we have aren't cutting it, and we're still losing. So we got to expand the age range to 18-year-olds potentially being drafted. Which, I mean, if you want to just kill off every man in your country, then keep going. Because what's next? Seriously.
Well, I think one of the sadder things I saw was when they found it was like a 40 or 50-year-old guy, and they were going to enlist him, and they're like, he didn't want to go, so they started shaking him around, and he had either a stroke or a heart attack and died on the street in front of his family while he was trying to fight the I think it might have been the MP, simply because he was refusing to be drafted to go into that senseless war.
Dang.
So it's super unfortunate. And so it's like, how many generations of men does it require before you just like stop sending them to their end?
Right. Well, as you were saying that, it's like, well, I guess what the next step would be is they would start demanding U.S. boots on the ground, just full on openly saying we want NATO troops to come in here and fight the war for us. That type
That's
of
what
scenario.
they're waiting on.
Right. It's what they're hoping for. And, this we're going to get into this Tucker Carlson video here in a little bit. But it's funny because one of the things he says in there is that it's one of two things, and this is what I've said actually on my own videos before I saw this, so I thought that was kind of cool. That it's cool when you say something and then you hear somebody else backing up your thought where they're out of your circle or whatever. But it's one of two things. They're either trying to escalate this war to a point where Joe Biden, or not Joe, I always say Joe Biden, Donald Trump, when he takes over, he won't be able to deliver on the promise. He won't be able to deliver on the promise that he's made on day one in this war, because they want to make it so bad and they want to piss off everybody involved so bad that it's like, okay, Trump, I don't care now. Like, I have to defend my honor or whatever. And it's gotten to a point that's so bad, and potentially they even want to do like the martial law thing and have Kamala invoke the 25th against Biden, and then basically claim there can't be a transfer of power, similar to what Zelensky did. I think it was in 2022, maybe it was in 2023. They basically forgone. What is that phrase? Forgone? Forewent? I don't know. Okay. On their presidential elections, he declared martial law and he remained the president. And I think that was in May of that year. So we're either at 1 year or 2 years past their last election, where he would have been replaced over there in Ukraine as their president. So I think that's maybe one of the playbooks they might be trying to do. Or the other thing is, these people are just simply evil. They love death. They love feeding the military-industrial complex. And they want to just kill as many people as possible before Donald Trump puts an end to it. And
well, I think even if you look at it from like a geopolitical aspect, it's being used as a proxy war for other countries.
right.
I mean, you have like North Korea and South Korea now deploying on both ends. South Korea is supplying people to Ukraine, and then North Korea is sending people to aid Russia. We're going to start seeing a lot more countries begin to get involved as well. And I think it's been maybe about a week since that cable cutting occurred of the deep sea cable cutting
Yeah.
for the internet communications. And then it
Yeah.
got reported that it was like there was Chinese vessels in the area when it had occurred.
Yeah. Trying to
leading
claim
the
that
theory,
their anchor got caught on it, type of thing.
right? So I think we're probably past the point of pulling back everything into a ceasefire, or everything at least into like a peace offering. I think at the least we'll get a ceasefire. But with everything that's gone into it and how far it's went, you can see that they're trying to, with giving the nukes over, they're trying to get to a point where someone has to strike back, or at
Mhm.
least be so unsalvageable that someone has to pay. And whether that sentiment is right or wrong, they're trying to get it there.
Yeah. Sorry, I took a drink right at the wrong time there.
No, you're good.
Like, oh, it's my turn to talk. Gulp.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, and they're just slowly. It's like a slippery slope. Every slippery slope goes too far. You know what I mean? And it's eventually it's almost like it's their playbook. Well, what's up,
Yeah.
TT Cycles? Welcome in, dude. It's good to see you.
Oh yeah, we were
Don't be
missing
late.
TNT.
Don't be late next time. Come on, man. What's going on? No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad
Fired.
you're here. You're fired. All right, you're rehired.
No, I think Chadwick's right here too. I think that we talked about that the last
for the new
episode.
hot neighbor.
But martial law of some sort, whether it requires the 25th Amendment or invocation or not, I think that's the ideal. And I think someone said it more succinctly than I could, which is, they would rather nuke the entire world and burn it to the ground before they ceded power, any amount of power, back to the individual people. And so
Yeah.
think what we're seeing is this new world order, this liberal world order, whatever you want to call it, is being threatened to a point where it's not been threatened before. And with getting Trump coming in, and fearing things getting simmered down and then having to work back to propagate all that stuff, they'd rather just finish it, no matter how bad or how ugly it may get. They'd rather maintain power in whatever form that comes.
Yeah, it's sad. It's crazy, but it's true. In my opinion, I think that's a wise man's words.
Why, thank you.
I don't know why. I don't know why they're like they fear the people. I don't know. I mean, it worked. It's worked well fairly decently in our own country. slowly the people have lost power ever since they basically created the IRS and the federal income tax and stuff like that. Well, I think it was in 1920s or something. Kind of.
Well, I was going to say, well, the one thing that kind of boggles me with all of this is we know that there's been so many false flags that have occurred previously that, and for how long this went on so far, it kind of makes me think like, why have we not seen something of that nature yet? Maybe it's going to happen tomorrow or in the coming weeks very soon. But it just makes me think any other kind of previous conflict where there's a false flag, they did it rather quickly. They didn't let it drag out to this point. But maybe that's also because there's so much technology and there's so many eyes on it, that if something were to happen like that, you're going to get war crimes, trying to stage something like that. You'll have a coup. People will get thrown out of power. And so I think that's why the sentiment and the narratives is so meaningful to them. They have to control it. And Chris said it earlier. They're losing control over it. So they're kind of getting to this point where it's like they're frantic, being rushed. Because for what reason would we want to be handing nukes over to these people in the midst of this happening, right as Joe Biden's about to walk out of power, right? Because we would understand Trump would walk these things back. He'd be like, no way. Although I did attach in the outline too, Sebastian Gorka had something that was pretty curious to me, and we can probably watch that video here in a second. But talking about how Trump would handle the things, and Sebastian Gorka's he's Trump's nominee for the director of counterterrorism. Oh, and this is the preemptive strike that's being considered. The NATO military chairman said, although what was crazy with this was this post actually got community noted like yesterday, and now it's gone. And I looked into it a bit, and the quote isn't really as, what's the word, direct is what this headline's kind of making you think, although they're essentially kind of arguing that it should be in the arsenal, like it should be an idea that people should get into their heads, kind of like a slow baiting for the tactic. But I wanted to play this thing from Sebastian Gorka, which I'll share this tab over instead.
Okay.
This is from Keith Woods here. So this is Trump's nominee for director of counterterrorism, but I'll go ahead and just play this because it kind of caught me off guard, and it seems to be oppositional to what I think Trump would be doing.
I'll give one tip away that the president has mentioned. He will say to that murderous former KGB colonel, that thug who runs the Russian Federation, you will negotiate now, or the aid that we have given to Ukraine thus far will look like peanuts. That's how he will force those gentlemen to come to an arrangement that stops the bloodshed.
So he's essentially saying, and it's quoted here too, that he's going to threaten Putin with flooding Ukraine with so much armed support, it will make previous aid look like peanuts.
Dang.
So that was what caught me off guard. And so if this is going to be someone who's going to be higher up in the Trump administration saying something like this, it gives me a bit of pause, right? Because it again is very oppositional to what we've been led to believe coming into with the Trump presidency. And I think this also can go along with what we saw with recent appointments that are just kind of like, eyes raising, like, wait a minute, like what, he picked who? So very curious, and I would hope that that's not the way things are going to go down. I would hope it would come from a bit more of a balanced opinion.
Yeah, totally. That took me off guard too. I hadn't seen that. I hadn't considered that really. I don't know. I don't think Putin is scared of any of the aid so far that they've sent to Ukraine. So I don't know if that would actually fall upon listening ears. But I think that Donald Trump would be more inclined to do what he did the first time and said, hey, if you step out of line, I'm going to nuke Moscow. At least that's the rumors that were said. And he also told the same thing to the president of the CCP, that he would nuke Beijing. And basically, they stayed in line. Like we said, we saw, like people say, we've seen no new wars under Donald Trump.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that is what he, it's going to be him going to Putin and saying, like, like, if you don't do this, man, and you don't take the ceasefire we're offering, like, I'm going to send everyone we have.
Right. Maybe it could be a combination of both, something like that. I saw Amanda Favreau. I'm glad YouTube has changed since the election to brought your channel to my attention. I appreciate you saying that. Glad to see you here. And then TNT Cycles said this. Wait, they're being invaded and they didn't take 18-year-old men. F Ukraine. You know, that's actually an interesting point because it's like just common knowledge that the United States enlists individuals even at 17. They recruited me when I was 17. Chose not to go in, but I had a spot on my 18th birthday where I could have went and joined the Navy. Had it all worked out and everything, but I just chose not to do it at the last minute, which I'm glad I did. Made that decision, but
Yeah, we do it the opposite. We go from like, I think if we were to do a draft, the first round is 18 to like 27, I believe. And it's like unmarried men go first. It's like 18 to 27, unmarried, and something else. I could be wrong about that. And then like the next round is like that age range again, but those who are married. And then it moves up again from like 27 to like 34 or 35, and it like goes up. Ukraine like started in the middle, went up, and now we're coming back to take all the young bloods.
right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's crazy. It's not like as noble as the elderly that were going into the Fukushima power plant to clean it up so that they could protect the younger generation because they had already lived their lives in their terms or whatever. It's not like a noble act, especially when you consider TNT's next point that he feels like 14-year-olds should fight if you're being invaded. If you're being invaded, it's kind of all hands on deck. So, yeah, total opposite. But
Yeah.
let's see here. I saw House Leotardo said Trump will reportedly appoint Keith Kellogg as special envoy to Ukraine. Kellogg's plan to end the war involves freezing the front lines where they are and forcing Kiev and Moscow to sit down. So
Yeah, they were doing the demilitarized zone, like 800 miles of like demilitarized zone on the front line, wherever that currently sits at.
Right. So maybe that's the starting point for negotiations of what the end of the war would actually look like. I know a lot of people say Ukraine must win at all costs, and in that Vladimir Putin will give back all the land he's conquered. And I don't think that would ever happen. I don't think that would ever happen unless there was some serious negotiations. So I don't know. Maybe it's a starting point of actual negotiations. But we'll see.
It'll be like North Korea and South Korea, where it just stops.
Yeah.
And they'll probably have to redraw the border lines of like where Russia was previously to what it is now. I think that's probably the only option. It's just Russia stops, Ukraine no longer has to defend itself, and hopefully it just ends there.
Well, hopefully Trump revamps the Department of Education, so they're going to need to remake all those books anyways. So hopefully they get that worked out before they remake those books and the maps can be accurate, right?
Yeah. Nobody can point to it on a map anyways. It doesn't really matter.
True. They'll just day one, they'll just have all the kids go in there and draw the new line. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, we'll have like new videos. There's all those famous ones of like the North Korea and South Korea border where it's like super heavily guarded. There's like some crazy ones where you've seen people from like North Korea trying to flee into South Korea, where people are like flying across to get through that area. We'll probably see a good bit more of that, probably from the opposite though.
Yeah. House Leotardo said something like only 27% of our youth are physically fit enough to serve in the military. Yeah, that's crazy. You ever seen those videos of like gym class from the 70s or the 50s or 60s? It's all in black and white, so I'm not sure when television turned from black and white to color, but like every single student is like doing multiple pull-ups, push-ups, all kinds of calisthenics. Everybody looks ripped and thin. We used to have our youth used to be much more capable of than they are today, at least, of defending physically, like being physical
Right.
bodies that can recover overnight, go fight all day, go recover overnight.
I would imagine only 27% of our military is heterosexual.
Right. I saw something the other day talking about, I can't remember the number. Was it 15,000 are supposedly trans, that we would lose 15,000 of our military personnel if Trump bans the trans thing or something like that.
He should.
Yeah,
I
he
don't care
should.
how many we lose?
I don't care how big and strong of a person you are. If you aren't mentally strong enough to understand that you are a man or a woman biologically, I don't want to go to war personally and trust you to carry me out if I get shot. You know what I'm saying? It's as
Right.
simple as that. I can't trust your mindset. That you're
Or when you're like newly forged space down there becomes infected and you start hogging all the amoxicillin when the rest of us need it. It's like, come on. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things that play into that where yeah, I want my whole squad to be mentally ill people. It's like, no,
right.
dude, I'm not going.
Right. It's a sense of entitlement and everything that goes along with it.
Right.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at this next.
That comment from TNT, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, like let me go get my makeup bag before we go do this, boys.
Oh, goodness. Stop the war. I need to dilate. Oh, my God. Yeah, to carry that thing around or whatever on the bag. Oh, man.
Dude, I'd be trading Russians. I'd be like, dude, you can have them for free, dude.
What's up, BSing with the guys checking in from Louisiana? MAGA, let's go. Good to see you here. I could be wrong, but I think did you email me? I think BSing with the guys emailed me the other day talking about a collab. I could be confusing him with somebody else, but glad to see you here, man.
I like the name though.
Yeah.
I like them.
Oh, by the way,
exempt from serving on the front line.
Since we're talking about since I mentioned my email, I got to tell you guys, got a little bit of growth, some pretty cool progress on the channel. I have officially, well, it's not official because I haven't signed the contracts, but they're in my email, the holiday stuff. But I have an official sponsor. Somebody's going to finally start sponsoring some videos on the channel. So as this thing has been growing and working on this thing for nearly 2 years now, finally seeing a growth into the next phase, which is a bit intimidating. Want to make sure I do it right and respectfully and treat everybody involved with the proper attention that they deserve and everything, get what they pay for and all that stuff. But I won't say who it is or anything, but you guys will see it in January if everything goes well. So anyways, wanted to kind of brag on that. That's thanks to all of you guys coming in here and watching the videos and subscribing to the channel and all that type of stuff. You know, it really it's beginning to change my life, which is something that's really cool. I'm just so grateful and thankful to everyone for. But anyways,
we do an ad spot every 3 seconds or every 3 minutes. It'll be like the Daily Wire.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. And it's actually not one that you see on a lot of the other channels. So that's kind of cool.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Let's see here. Sorry. Yeah, they get surgery and out of service for a year. You're talking about recovery times, BSing with the guys. Okay, that was you that emailed me. Yeah. I believe I replied, but we'll talk more in the future. If you wanted to join the Discord, we can talk in there or however. But
yeah,
that's kind of been the best way to be in contact with me is through the Discord. I read everybody's comments and try to interact as often as possible and stuff like that.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid Shadow. Yeah, right. No, it's not that one. But I would take it. I like those ads. It's been a while since I've seen one, to be honest with you. I don't even know if they're even doing ads anymore.
Well, yeah, you can't be them if you said it's not one that not everybody has, because Raid's on everybody's channel.
Chris, the butthole bleaching company is finally sponsoring you guys.
Owned by Milo Yiannopoulos.
I'm sure some of you guys watched that show Impractical Jokers, and they got that sponsorship for one of the dudes on there and put up a billboard and everything for the guy. Oh, it's so funny. You watch that show? Have you ever seen Impractical Jokers?
No, yeah.
Okay, what's the guy's
I haven't
name?
seen it since the one guy left though. I haven't seen any of the newer ones.
Yeah, I haven't seen it for a couple of years. I quit. I canceled cable or satellite a few years ago and haven't been able to watch it. But that's hilarious, Chris. It made me think of that right away. But so on to this next story here. Breaking It's not breaking anymore. But Jack Smith files to drop all 4 felony charges against President Trump. For those of you that don't know, Jack Smith has multiple cases against Donald Trump, notably the classified documents in Florida that was put on hold indefinitely by the judge. I believe her name is Eileen Cannon, simply because Jack Smith was inappropriately, potentially illegally appointed to the position of special counsel, and that appointment was from Merrick Garland, ironically, who has intentionally multiple times ignored congressional subpoenas. And the subpoenas that he had ignored were in reference to protecting Joe Biden. And at the same time, he's out here prosecuting Joe Biden's number one opponent. But Joe Biden did an interview with Robert Hur, and Robert Hur deemed Joe Biden unfit to stand trial for his classified documents, I believe was the issue at hand. Basically said that he's too old and can't handle it and all this stuff. Meanwhile, they pursued the same. Though. Yeah, right. But he could be president, and the mainstream media covered for him, saying that he's witty and whatever, all the crap that they were saying. But so degenerate Merrick Garland appointed Jack Smith, and it's crazy because it's all extremely obvious to me that it was just basically an attempt to stop Trump from being eligible to be on the ballot. And then additionally to, if he was put on the ballot, lose the election, make him look so bad that he would lose the election. And, thankfully all the efforts failed. And now, now historically you can't prosecute a sitting president. You can't press charges, I think, against a sitting president, which Donald Trump isn't a sitting president yet. He'll be inaugurated. They'll certify the election on the 6th or maybe the 5th this year. And then he'll be, the transfer of power on January 20th. It's one of those J months. And so with that, basically pending, Jack Smith is kind of, it's funny because the mainstream media is even covering for him, saying that ever since the recent Supreme Court ruling that you can't that presidents have immunity, they're leaning on that. But historically, you haven't been able to prosecute a sitting president, right? Unless they were literally impeached. You have to impeach them first. There's a process to it, and so it's weird. They like to just try to use everything that they can to try to make Donald Trump look as bad as possible. What's up, Bobcat? Good to see you here. When the reality of it is, this is a historical law that's been on the books for longer than this recent Supreme Court ruling. But that's what they're pointing to. Is my point. They're pointing to this when it's all just so weird. They want to try to make Donald Trump look so bad. And now we even see we see it sinking in amongst the mainstream media and Jack Smith as well, that Donald Trump is going to be the president. And you have folks like Joe Scarborough and Minka Pierzynski going out to Mar-a-Lago trying to meet with Donald Trump. We have this other one coming up here that what's her name? Oh, she's the cringe one. What's her name? It's in the outline. Thought it was. What is it? Kristen Welker? Is that her name? Kristen Welker, the one that interviews Trump and is just such a see you next
Caitlin
Tuesday.
Collins.
Okay,
Collins.
yeah. Forgive me, Kristen Welker. I don't know who you are. It's Caitlin Collins.
Defamation.
Caitlin Collins is back on the scene apparently, and so they're kind of positioning to, in my opinion at least, become the next person, the next entity that's going to have Trump's favor that opposes him, right? And in my opinion, he shouldn't be doing interviews. My dog wants in the room. Sorry if you guys can hear that whining. She's whining on the other side of the door. She just come in here and jump up on me and try to rip my shirt and then went out 2 minutes later. So she's got to stay out there. But she's interrupting me. No, I think they're all trying to position for Trump's favor so that they can be the opposition that he shows grace to and goes and when he tries to win over the left and all this stuff. And in my opinion, he shouldn't be he shouldn't be interacting with any of these folks. They all hate him, and they're all just trying to make a buck off of him. And you know, it's pretty pathetic. But back to the Jack Smith thing. The judge in Florida on the classified documents basically put that case on hold, and now Jack Smith is essentially moving to drop all the charges, but not with prejudice, which means I didn't put it on the screen. I still had yours up, but anyways, it's the same thing. It's just a document from Jack Smith. And he's saying here, as a result of the election held on November 5th, the defendant Donald J. Trump will be inaugurated as president on January 20th, 2025, and has long been the position. It has long been the position of the Department of Justice that the United States Constitution forbids the federal indictment and subsequent criminal prosecution of a sitting president. But the Department of the country, Department and the country. I was like, who's the Department of the country? I've never heard that before. The Department and the country have never faced the circumstances here where a federal indictment against a private citizen has been returned by a grand jury and a criminal prosecution is already underway when the defendant is elected president. Confronted with this unprecedented situation, the special counsel's office consulted with the department's Office of Legal Counsel, whose interpretation of constitutional questions, such as those raised here, is binding on department prosecutors. After careful consideration, the department has determined that the prior opinions concerning the Constitution's prohibition on federal, I lost so much words. I hate how legal stuff is written.
Yeah, professional.
The prohibition is categorical and docs not turn on the gravity of the crimes charged. Basically, what it boils down to, right here, there it is. The government moves to dismiss without prejudice, and that's the key phrase right there. Without prejudice, can't say it. The key phrase is blah blah blah. No, the key phrase there is without prejudice of the superseding indictment under federal rule of criminal procedure. So to me, what that means is they're leaving the door open for, in 4 years, they can bring these charges back up and try to throw an 80-year-old Donald Trump in prison for having classified documents secured in his home behind a lock that the FBI gave him. When he'll be older than Joe Biden was, in 4 years, he'll be older than what Joe Biden was when Robert Hur deemed him unfit to face a trial for the same thing after Joe Biden had, classified documents in his garage, in his vacation house or whatever, where his crackhead son was living, sitting in the garage next to his Corvette that he loves to talk about. And not only that, those were classified documents from way before Joe Biden was ever made president. It was from when he was like his times of Senate and things like that, where he has way lower level of clearance. And so it's just it's a complete witch hunt, which is a phrase that has been used a ton of times in these situations where they're trying to go after President Trump. But I mean, I can't imagine him be president for the next 4 years, and then they try to do this again and bring up all this old shit. So basically, what has to happen is Donald Trump has to pardon himself to prevent them from going after these charges again, pursuing these charges again. And what that creates is this self-fulfilling prophecy that we hear from the left, that Donald Trump is going to be this dictator, this, whatever, and he's never going to leave the White House, because every time he does anything that benefits himself, even if it's in the face of tyranny, in the face of unfairness, unlawful, type of scenarios, he's got to remember it's all brought on by Jack Smith, who was appointed, and a judge ruled that, he wasn't even fit to bring the charges. They're going to try to use it all against him, essentially, and we're going to force us to defend him, and it's going to hem up the process of Donald Trump being able to function as president potentially. And that just sucks, because that's what they did to his first 4 years. Was he was partially busy dealing with the Russian collusion. Then he had the 2 impeachments and probably a couple other things I can't think of off the top of my head. I know the first 2 years of his first term, he had the House and the Senate, and they weren't willing to work with him. Then they lost the House, and Nancy Pelosi was the speaker, and they just went after him full bore. And so now that he has the House and Senate again, I'm hoping it's not just a rinse repeat of the first time around, dealing with bullcrap. So, I mean,
They're going to try. They're going to do whatever they can to try. It's going to be all the red tape, keeping him as negatively seen as possible, because they know that's the one thing that he will at least capitulate to, which is the optics, right? He wants to do anything he can to maintain that kind of public appealability, rather, make sure he's still in everybody's good graces, no matter how much, they may have lied. And so I agree with your point that he needs to not be doing any of these kind of interviews, and especially with Caitlin Collins being the new White House correspondent. She's going to be harassing whoever the new press secretary is. And so, yeah, hopefully he just pardons himself. Chadwick even saying in here that the minimum requirement for federal pardons is just being investigated. He says he believes Hillary was pardoned and sealed by Barack Hussein Obama, after the mid-year exam, and Biden will also have sealed pardons. It's kind of part of the reason why they were floating the fact that that Hunter Biden should be pardoned by Trump too, because you have so many people who are too afraid of going after political people, even though it's what we all witnessed happening to Donald Trump. And again, to speak to the fact of like, oh, they're going to try this case again, they're going to try whatever they can. I have no faith in these people, because if they're not retarded, they're evil, and some are just both. So no matter what it is, they'll try a case, they'll try to pin an essay charge, they'll do whatever they possibly have to. But again, maybe because he's going to be out of office and not being able to run for president again, maybe this stuff just kind of dies down. Maybe there's going to be less of a reason to actually pursue him with him not being in office. Maybe that just becomes the next Republican individual. JD Vance maybe gets all this red tape wrapped around him, but it's still a bit away. I think it's a good sign, to see that Jack Smith dropped all the charges. I think the worst thing about it is the fact that $50 million over that actually of taxpayer dollars was used for this, to pursue all of these BS charges. And you look at that from the frame of, we're in debt. I can't even think of how many $1 trillion we're in debt now. And then just millions of taxpayer dollars being dumped to do stuff like that. On top of everything else we're giving to all the immigrants that are here and everything else, Ukraine, Israel, all the funding being sent out. It's just a scam. It's just a joke. It's another kind of brutal reminder that this government doesn't care about the American people, and let alone not even just doesn't care, but will actively do things that harm your life, your posterity, and your children's life. And so you look at it from the frame of that, it's like, they don't care about the optics. Like, once again, it's like, put Jack Smith in jail for abusing his, what do you call that, lawyer license, a bar, disbar him, whatever you have to do. Like, get this guy to a position that you have to repent for the actions you did. Whether you got to sit in a jail cell or you lose your professional career, it doesn't matter to me. You have to go after him. I don't think there's any amount of pardoning these people or, just letting bygones be bygones. Is going to help the American people.
Right. Well, the time of turning the other cheek has passed. I hate to say it like that, but they never turn the other cheek. They just pursue at all costs. And so, unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to let up, even though Trump doesn't have another term to win. I think they're going to try to make him look as bad as possible, just in case it's one of his sons that runs next. They're going to try to run the whole family through the gambit again. Anybody associated with him, which would be JD Vance or Vivek, try to force people to separate from him like they did the first time. And it's just unfortunate. And I'm glad you brought up the $50 million in investigation, wasted money, because that's just, one facet of it. Think of how much money they spent on the 2 impeachments. Think of how much money they spent in all of the other situations. Just like, well, I'll put it on screen here. The charges there that they put up against Donald Trump before. The Stormy Daniels
like a
thing,
civil suit too.
The Stormy Daniels thing, everything that they did, all the investigation they did to anybody around Trump whenever he was inaugurated, the reason why Michael Cohen went to prison at first. And then, of course, I believe it was $32 million that they spent on the Russian collusion investigation. Now, that comes with the caveat that, or the underline or whatever that Donald Trump was the one that authorized that, but that was him trying to appeal to the left that, hey, look, I didn't steal the election in 2016. There was nobody out there helping me as far as Russian collusion, and so he was trying to prove his innocence. But still, once it all boiled out, once it all came to the surface, we realized that they knew the affidavit was forged. Essentially, it was a fake dossier. From the beginning, the FBI was fully aware that there was no Russian collusion, yet they went ahead and pushed forward. I mean, we're talking potentially $100 million our federal government has spent, maybe more, going after Donald Trump, who was a sitting president and now the president-elect. It's incredibly wasteful. It's so wasteful and just irresponsible with our money, essentially, and I just can't stand it, to be honest with you. It's when you say it out loud, it's just like, wow, what are we doing?
And not even that, too. Just think about what if Trump didn't win the election. He would be going to prison. He'd be getting tried for all of these things. They would have no incentive to drop all of this stuff. They would have been emboldened by it. So when you look at it, I think Matt Gaetz, he made a video the other day, and I had it on screen, but he made a great point by pointing out the fact that for Trump, it was win the election or prison. And that's why I agree, with Donnie, when I said earlier, there's no, you have to go after these people, right? Like what they've done is not, whether it's sedition action, or outright just abusing the power that was given to them, lying all the time, making up charges. I think, the false accusation thing needs to be an actual law put in place, especially for people like E. Jean Carroll, who can just rip off a Law and Order SVU, episode and then act like it happened to her and put Trump's name on it, and then it get litigated with some level of authority in a court. It's just some of the most bonkers stuff I've ever heard in my life.
Well, didn't she even claim she was wearing a dress that wasn't even invented for like 15 years or something like that till after the accusation? It's just like, wow.
It's got more holes than Swiss cheese. I mean, that case was brutally just awful.
Right.
But if it wasn't Donald Trump, these kind of false accusation things happens to, other people. It happens to like regular guys, but when it happens to other kind of like mid-level people, they don't have the support and the weight of, the base that Trump does. And so their lives get entirely ruined. Or half the time you get sent to prison until DNA exonerates you, or they finally are too guilty to, in their own minds, with their own consciences, come out and say things, but there's no charges for them. It's like, well, we're sorry for like the 18 years you just spent in prison, but like at least you're out now, right? And it's like you can't, something like that. It's like we got to do things to help mitigate against all of this kind of stuff, because, and this is even a side point too, like the Conor McGregor thing, right? Conor McGregor here recently had this point where he was bringing up immigration and all these other political stuff, and it's like clockwork. It's like, oh, here's this essay charge, like, oh, here we go, like we're doing the thing all over again. You go to like Pete Hegseth, right? Pete Hegseth, that one is disgusting on multiple ends, right? They're claiming like he assaulted this lady, but when you look into the details, it was a married woman who was taking advantage of Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth was what's the word, he was like entirely drunk, right? He's like off of his rocker, and this lady's entirely sober. There's all these text messages of her being like, yeah, like my friends are talking about Pete Hegseth this way. So you could kind of build up this idea and see the story play out, where she was clearly wanted to bag Pete Hegseth, and here we are, sexual assault charges. And it's ridiculous. It goes back to the like original iteration of it, where it's like, if you're drunk and she's drunk, you just assaulted her. And it's like, how does the blame automatically fall on a man, right? Like, especially if both people aren't sober, it kind of follows this same ideal of like women have no agency, but they also have all the authority and no responsibility. It's just this crazy kind of world we live in, and that's why things like that got to be litigated against. Forgive me.
Well, the weaponization of the justice system should be one of the most heavily penalized, crimes on the books. Honestly, if you, like, I always think of, there's the pitcher Trevor Bauer, who hasn't been back in the major leagues since he got Me Too'd. He's been pitching in a Japanese league. I follow him on X, and he's still very adequate. He's still a good enough pitcher to be pitching in the major leagues. And then there's the NFL punter, who is actually the active punter for the Chiefs this year, which was kind of cool seeing them, the team that I root for and that you hate, present
Yes.
a redemption arc to a guy who was Me Too'd before his NFL career even got started. And so, I mean, you're just talking about literally years of their life wasted, millions of dollars potentially lost, reputation tainted for life. And, when people weaponize the justice system against folks because they either changed their mind or just came up with blatant lies, um, like I said initially, should be one of the most heavily penalized. I don't know. I don't know what it should be. 10 years federal prison. And then you're on the hook for paying back the person potentially what they lost monetarily.
I think
Something
it should
like
carry
that.
the weight, right? If
Yeah.
the sentence for for SA is going to be whatever 10 to 15 years, where the false accusation gets the reciprocal charge put on top of it,
Yeah, that's a
and
good
it's a
way to do
cash
it.
grab too, right? It's insane because it's like what they kind of will advise these guys is, well, you want this, you know, and as we talk about on the show all the time, is like you're guilty by accusation, right? So just the accusation and your face going on a picture with that caption allegedly means nothing. Most people will automatically convict you in their heads that you did this. And so what the advice they get is, well, you want to settle this as fast as possible because the longer this is in the news, the faster your reputation sinks.
Yeah.
So someone will go and they'll just be like, all right, $1 million, cash grab done, settle it outside of court or get it or settle it inside of court that way too, what the money means. But it's just
Yeah.
it's broken and it's not sustainable. And so again, all this stuff kind of wraps up into this whole male female dichotomy that exists, right? The where it's like it's very imbalanced on a multiple issues, especially when you look at things like family court, and we see all the trickle down effect that it has on society. And when it's left to run rampant like it is now, our sitting president now has to capitulate it too, right? So it's gotten to this power level of like it needs to be brought back down to earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you even add to it the one-sidedness of it when it becomes like on the political level. All the things that Joe Biden and his family have done. And it's just pardons or nothing, it seems like investigations and nothing. It's kind of crazy. And then I saw this comment here from TNT Cycles, but Cam Newton can get away with it because America is ... racist, right? I mean, look at OJ Simpson. The glove didn't fit. The guy went off and wrote a book later on in life. But if I did do it, or whatever the title was, I can't remember exactly. But it's just like,
Yeah. If I did do it.
Yeah. He goes through the whole thing. It's just crazy. Yeah, Kobe. Yeah, they made jokes about that still live in infamy. I always think of the Dave Chappelle episode, the Kobe.
Well, what's funny with the OJ Simpson book, what was it? Somebody bought like the rights, the copyright rights to that book, and they like made the "if I" portion of the title. They can't actually remove it because it's part of the title, but they made it as small as you could possibly can for it to still be like within the legal parameters. So it literally says like "I did do it"
In big
by
letters.
OJ Simpson. Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
That is funny. Oh, by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to TNT Cycles. He re-upped his membership yesterday. I didn't actually get the notification for it, which kind of sucks because I feel like I should be getting notifications like that. But I wanted to thank you for re-upping that membership there, TNT. That's awesome. I appreciate it big time.
Yes, sir. And on the matter of Kobe Bryant and Cam Newton, I think you also got to think about this is just a counterpoint to that. I think race is heavily involved in a lot of these reasons too, but Big Ben as well, right? Big Ben also had one of these cases brought to him as well. It happened in like a bathroom at a bar, and I
Oh, yeah.
think there's a certain portion of like
Ezekiel
people
Elliott.
like someone. You're right. People like someone enough to the point that they are willing to overlook for specific reasons, and I think a lot of the time for football and such, they don't want to see their players because it's obviously going to be devastating to the team when people of that level or have to leave to go serve prison time. So there comes a point where people are like, well, maybe maybe I don't care about this one issue, and it's just super unprincipled.
Yeah. Yeah, the NFL had a really bad run there for a while with the Ray Rice stuff and all the domestic abuse and SH, accusations and everything like that. I was getting to the point where it's like, I really love the sport. I really love everything that's good about it. but how can I root for a league, participate in this that that allows these folks to do these things or whatever? And I had a real controversy in my brain during all that time where it's like, am I really considering just cutting the NFL out of my life? Then Patrick Mahomes was drafted. Kind of that was all she wrote.
Well, yeah, what they were threatening to what's his name, Nick Bosa, because he just like flashed his mega hat during an interview, like crashed an interview.
Oh yeah,
They were threatening to fine him. I don't know if they actually did or they pulled that back, but it's the same league that says this
I
is
want
no
to say
place
he
for
got fined
politics.
$12,000 for that.
Yeah, and like they go vote and BLM on the back of every helmet, and it's like
Oh, they
you
let
are
people kneel for
political.
the national anthem. All the stuff that
Rainbow
they let
flags
go.
everywhere.
Yeah, all the stuff that they let go and all the politics that they played. But then whenever one guy comes up and says, "Vote for Donald Trump," in a half a second interview, which is funny because the repercussions of that is now the Donald Trump dance is being used as a celebration dance in college sports, college football, and NFL. We've been seeing it a lot. Even John Bones Jones, when he knocked out Stipe a couple weeks ago in the UFC, he started doing the Donald Trump dance, and that was really cool. And I haven't been able to talk about this yet. I don't know if you guys saw that UFC where John Jones knocked out Stipe Miocic, but boy, that kick to the ribs, I bet that broke some ribs. If you guys saw that, that looked like that hurt. Still hurts. But he immediately started doing his version of the Trump dance, and then seeing after the fight when he walked over to Donald Trump and he gave Trump he handed Trump his championship belt, and the interaction between them, the camera was so close you could hear them, but the stupid announcers, including Joe Rogan, which I'm not talking crap on Joe, but I'm just saying they should have been smart enough right there to be quiet, because you could hear what John Jones was saying to Donald Trump and vice versa. And I wanted to know what the words were. I wanted to hear the exchange, but the announcer started talking. You heard him like say a few words, and then the announcer started talking, and it's like, yo, you're drowning out the most important part. What are you guys doing? But it was just
You got
really
a
cool.
call.
Yeah, it was just really cool seeing how once Donald Trump won, like people relaxed. They're like, okay, well, I'm not on the wrong side of history liking this dude, supporting this dude. And I don't know. I just really appreciated seeing how that interaction went between those two guys after the fight.
Yeah, it's cool that we get the support from those who are going to pull in like political support from factions and areas and industries we would normally wouldn't get it. But my kind of first thoughts go to a lot of these celebrities and these athletes and actors wait because their number one priority is making money. And so they wait until it's a financially feasible thing to do that won't bankrupt them before they
Yeah,
finally are like, oh yeah, Trump. And it's like, where were you the past 4 years, right? It's like all these other people who spoke out get bopped like, you're playing whack-a-mole.
yeah,
And you wait until there's so many, it's like you're really kind of just like one amongst the crowd. And so as much as I can appreciate it, I also see it as like, serving money as the master, as the primary.
true. But it's kind of cool. I don't disagree. But you reminded me that like Tim Pool's one of these guys. You see a lot of these folks that are popular in this space that know famous people, and the famous people come to them and say, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. I agree with everything you're saying about Trump, but there's no way I could say it publicly. I'd lose sponsors. I would lose, endorsement sponsors. Same thing.
Yeah.
They have something at risk that they could lose if they go public with their position, and it's just not beneficial for them, which it sucks. It's understandable, but it still sucks that folks have to behave like that. In the land of the free, where we have the First Amendment. I guess there's still consequences for your actions, even in your words. But it's just kind of crazy how serious some of these folks take it when it comes to that. But it'd be nice to see whoever these folks are, more and more of them come out and ease up on that stance and realize that they're actually more in line with the population, and tell these companies like, well, not Walmart, but these big companies, moving to this next one, Target and Bud Light were the main two that were highlighted in this DEI situation when Bud Light hired paid Dylan Mulvaney $50,000 and put his face on a can and acted like he was going to help. It was going to help. I don't know. I think Dylan is actually not doing the women thing anymore. I could be wrong, but so I'm not trying to misgender their YouTube. Just is what it is. But as I sit here and censor myself. YouTube provides an excellent opportunity, and I don't mind following the rules, even though it sucks sometimes because just trying to have a conversation. But anyways,
YouTube's never been wrong.
It brought to the forefront, this DEI agenda and how far, woke and how misguided a lot of these companies and how deep rooted this DEI process in the industries, I guess industry, it's not really a say, it's like sections of their companies become DEI. Like you used to just have HR, now you have HR and the DEI department. You know what I mean? It's like gotten so serious or whatever. But if more people that I was talking to, the more of these famous people would come and speak out against this type of stuff, support Donald Trump, support American values, we could literally get DEI pushed so far from the forefront that it's not even an issue anymore. It's just hire people based on merit and get back to the good times. But woke woes. Walmart joins Ford, John Deere, Toyota, and other major companies in ditching controversial DEI initiatives, which is cool for me because I've always been a fan of Walmart. Being somebody that lives check to check, Walmart tends to be some of the best prices or has over. I'm not doing a Walmart ad, but just whenever I go shopping, it seemed like Walmart would have some of the cheapest stuff that I needed for my necessities. So, and around here, they're one of the only places to get groceries. So it's nice to see the company that I purchased from is actually rolling back this DEI policies, and they've become the latest firm to join the growing trend of removing DEI. So the DEI must die, and I'm all for it. I love it. And I have an article. I believe I have the article. Did I add it in here? You know what? I didn't add it. I had it pulled up.
For which one?
It was just an article talking about Walmart positioning.
Yeah, it's the Fox Business one. You can click those little triangles; they toggle down.
Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, I missed it whenever I clicked on that. I like the new way that you're putting this format together. I was actually able to add some stuff myself and figure it out a little bit.
Yeah, I know it's like a lot more condensed. And I added that Robbie Starbuck video too because he covers it in depth because he was the one who met with them leading up to this.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know that. But we got this article here from Fox Business. Or do I even need to read the article since he covers it pretty in depth?
The article actually, it's basically just a restatement of a lot of what Robbie Starbuck did. So you can just watch the Robbie Starbuck one. It's like 4 minutes long, I believe.
Okay, we'll do that. That way we can avoid just repeating ourselves.
Yeah, Donnie, I actually am not sure what the misgendering policy is on YouTube. I have no idea. I don't know what it's considered.
Yeah, I know that there was folks that were doing it in the Mulvaney thing early on, and there was other folks that were making it a point to not. And so I don't know if it's just like a de-ranking thing or what, but whatever. I just try not to get deranked or whatever, just in case. I mean, I don't care about Dylan Mulvaney. Everybody,
Dylan Mulvaney needs God.
Everybody knows what the reality of it is. I see we have Major League Baseball player Mike Schmidt in the house. They are only backtracking on DEI because they want money for Christmas season. Oh, well, that makes sense. But hopefully old Mike helped out with that Pennsylvania vote there. He played for the Phillies. Or at least part of his career, right? It's been a while.
Mike Schmidt.
Not familiar. He's got 3,000 hits.
More than me.
All right, let's play this video from Robbie.
All right, y'all. I don't even know how to start this video because honestly, this is different than everything else we've done because this is the single largest employer in the United States. We are talking about a company that is worth almost $1 trillion on its own. As many of you know, I have been investigating a massive company now for a while, and I have kept my lips sealed on who it was. Now I can reveal it was Walmart, but something incredible happened in the course of my investigation. Walmart became aware of our investigation and reached out to me. This was critical and honestly turned out pretty fantastic for everybody involved, in my opinion. We were able to have frank conversations with Walmart. And as I've said for a long time, I don't ask companies to take on my political views. I am simply advocating for corporate neutrality. I believe that that is the future because I understand there are people in this country who do not agree with my politics. So it would not be fair of me to force my politics on them the same way that I am not okay with left-wing policies being forced on me and people like me via things like DEI. After various conversations, I am very proud to report to you guys that Walmart has decided on making some changes. I'm going to lay out what those changes are for you and explain how massive this is for our movement. We are unstoppable at this point with a 100% flip rate where we change corporate America and get them back to a culture of sanity and neutrality. Bullet point number 1, Walmart will be removing all inappropriate sexual and or transgender products that are marketed toward kids, things like chest binders for teenagers or books that encourage transitioning. That is all going to be gone. Bullet point number 2, Walmart is going to review and stop funding to all events that could be sexually inappropriate for kids. That includes drag queen story time or pride events that expose kids to sexually inappropriate topics. That's all going to stop going forward. Third bullet point, Walmart will be closing their racial equity center. This is a center they had committed $100 million to, and it was a 5-year project.
Oh, good.
They will be closing that center going forward. Fourth bullet point, Walmart will no longer participate in the HRC's Corporate Equality Index social credit system. This scoring system is what has brought wokeness into so many segments of corporate America, and we are happy to see them no longer participating. There is not a corporation in America that should be participating with the HRC CEI scoring system going forward. The HRC got explicitly political in the 2024 election, working with everything they have to defeat Donald Trump and calling him every name in the book. It is time for companies to recognize that they need to move away from this system that is explicitly political and embrace corporate neutrality so that everybody is welcome in their stores. Fifth bullet point, Walmart is going to be reviewing their supplier diversity programs to ensure that nobody's receiving preferential treatment on the basis of race. And they will also ensure that financing eligibility will no longer be predicated on providing certain demographic information. Sixth bullet point, and this is a favorite for me, being Latino myself, Walmart will no longer be using the term Latinx in any of their official communications. That is going to be wiped away. I was very disappointed to see it was there. But again, this is across corporate America. So this is a company, Walmart, who is doing the right thing here. And I want to give them credit for that. Getting rid of this big. We don't want to hear Latinx ever again. Bullet point number 7, Walmart will be discontinuing their racial equity training through the Racial Equity Institute. Again, getting rid of woke trainings. And last but not least, drumroll please for the big one, DEI. They will be discontinuing use of DEI both publicly and privately at Walmart. This is a massive win for our movement. The momentum just keeps growing. This is the largest employer in the United States, worth almost $1 trillion. Other companies are taking notice. Suppliers of Walmart are taking notice now. With Christmas right around the corner, I'm happy I could deliver you guys one retailer that will drop the woke policies. You've still got Amazon and Target acting crazy out there with wokeness. So I'm glad I could give you guys one at least. And yes, we do have our eyes on Amazon and Target. America just voted, and we voted against wokeness. We voted for sanity. We voted for corporate neutrality. We don't want companies funding divisive things. And Walmart is setting a great example here for other companies to turn around. It's not too late. Turn around. People are very forgiving, and we can get back to sanity together and rebuild and make this country the greatest it can possibly be. As this New York Times headline clearly illustrates, the paradigm has changed. Companies need to listen to our movement. We are powerful and growing every single day. We will not stop until we have eliminated wokeness in corporate America. If you love our work to remove wokeness from corporate America, follow me, share these videos, subscribe to my X page. It's $5 a month. It supports our research team. But please tell your friends about this and let's keep this movement growing.
Nice. I like how he put all that together real fast.
It's wild to think that they had all of those things in place even to begin with.
Yeah, the whole Latinx is crazy. It's like trying to Americanize yet reinvent the Mexican language, essentially Hispanic, because everything in Hispanic and a lot of languages are actually like Latina refers to a female or Latino refers to a male. So when they go Latinx, they're just like, it doesn't even conform to our language system. It's like, it's not even within the construct. It's just an American thing, you know. It's like the chalupa or something. I don't think there's actually chalupa. Well, You know, it's like Taco Belling the Mexican food. Taco
Right.
Belling of the language. Yeah, DEI is racism. It's hiring based off of merit, or not off of merit. It's the opposite of hiring off of merit. It's hiring off of what people look like. You know, I can go back to 2004 when a good friend of mine was trying to be a mailman, right? And he was going through all the tests. It took him like a year to go through all these processes. And then when it came down to his final grade, his final test, whatever, he came to find out that there were certain races and genders that were getting bumped up a grade, like on the curve or whatever. Yeah, it's on the curve. And he stood no chance being a white man. If he got a B and they got a B, they actually got an A because they bumped him up a grade level. So, I mean, he literally had to be like amongst the very best to compete with folks that were on the B level or whatever. And he never even got that job. He wasted a year of his life. I don't know if that still stands within that company, but that's, you know, like I said, he was a close friend of mine. He was actually one of the people in my wedding. But whenever you're not putting your best foot forward, that's not good for your company. And that was one of my big points about the whole Bud Light thing and the guy, the CEO that never really apologized or lost his job, was that it was his responsibility to the shareholders. I mean, they're at a level where they got shares. They're responsible to it's literally punishable by law, I believe, for these CEOs to prioritize, make decisions based on the shareholders, preserving the shareholders' value in their stock and stuff like that. And so when a dude comes out,
fiduciary duty.
Yeah, and when the dude comes out and makes the type of decision that he did with Dylan Mulvaney, it was borderline, you know, warranting investigation from the shareholders' perspective, especially as we saw the Bud Light stock drop from, I think it was high 50s or low 60s down into like the 40s or something like that, which it bounced back. But
Well, that was like a double whammy though, because it was a lady who was recently installed as the CEO.
Yeah.
Who had like all these quotes about like, we want to
She
move
was a
away
director
from
of
the frat guy.
She was a director of
image.
marketing.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, she was a
you're good.
director of marketing.
And well, the second point with that too was when they used Dylan Mulvaney, they pointed out the average age of his audience who Dylan Mulvaney speaks to was underage. So
Right.
when it went to be like, so who are you really targeting? Right.
Right. Exactly. That was a good old days. That's what helped build my channel. I focused on that topic so much. We need another one of those.
Yeah. How about, no. Dylan Mulvaney can keep doing his TED Talks in front of 10 people wherever he's at right now.
Right. He's still making too much for it though. Which moves us over to this next topic here, which is kind of in the same light of winning. We're winning, right? And so the Washington Commanders, they agreed to uncancel the Redskins logo. Now they're not going to go back to the name Washington Redskins, from the way I understand it. Maybe this is just a stepping stone to get it actually back to that. But you know, I got a post on X from. Well, we'll read this, and then I want to show you this post on X. I didn't put it in the format because I knew I would actually be able to get to it quickly, but I'll have to scroll down on my page. So the Washington Commanders managing partner Josh Harris and the NFL Commanders ownership group have agreed to uncancel the Redskins history, right? The iconic Blackfoot Chief logo. In a post on Facebook by Republican Montana Senator Steve Daines, the congressman wrote, quote, "The censorship from the former Commanders logo was a classic case of woke gone wrong. I applaud the Commanders and the NFL for their commitment to never censor the logo again, and for working with the Wetzel family to restore the logo to a place of prominence and honor to benefit Indian country." He added, mentioning the Native American artist who used Blackfoot Chief John Two Guns Whitecalf, an awesome name, John Blackfoot Chief John Two Guns Whitecalf. That's a badass name right there.
Yeah.
As the inspiration for the logo and the NFL team used for almost 50 years. In 2020, the team announced it was removing the Redskins from its name, and 2 years later announced the National Professional Football Team would be called the Commanders, which they were actually known as the Washington Football Team for a season, which, come on, like, who's in charge of that branding? I mean, for real. Companies, see here, Shoebox added that companies are now rejecting the ESG scores. They're worthless. That's good. I'm glad they're rejecting that as well, because it all goes in hand with this DEI. Let's see here. Let me find this real quick.
Yeah, the Washington Caucasians would have been a better name. And I think they actually can't take the Redskins name back because some random guy on X bought it.
Oh, well, they gave up the copyright to it. I remember South Park made a whole episode about it, just completely clowning on them. Like Cartman named his new company the Washington Redskins or something, and it was great. They were like trying to stop him, and he's like, "You can't. It's mine now. You gave it up."
Yeah, it was like, what do they do to it? Because it was so politically unfavorable to use it. It went to like this open market, and like it became public domain. So I think anybody can use it if they wanted to.
Yeah. So this was a post from Native Patriot over on X. If you're not familiar, the guy is he's a great follow, and might potentially be a guest in the next couple weeks on the show, which hopefully that comes to pass. And I think we'll have a great time talking to this dude. I really like what he's doing with everything that he's working on over there. He headed up the process. Do you guys remember the Kansas City Chiefs fan, the kid that painted his face half red and half black, and the left went after him and called him a racist and for doing blackface and all this crap or whatever? Native Patriot, he took he went to the front, and he basically put together a GoFundMe type scenario, raised enough money to send this kid and his dad to the Super Bowl last year, which the Chiefs won. And so in your face, Atlas. I'm just teasing.
We'll see this year.
I'm just teasing him. But anyways, and so that's kind of one of the big things that you might have heard of that he has done on the grander scale. But anyways, he posted, "Tell me again how honoring Chief Two Guns Whitecalf is racist and how erasing every bit of representation of him is good. Bring back the Redskins, bring back the Chief." And then he posted this video, and I've only watched the first part of it. If it starts getting into straight like news, we might cut it off just because I don't want them to try to like claim this or whatever. But
to change their name back.
I wanted to say, hey, Angry Yeti, thanks for the $2 super chat, man. That's dope. Appreciate you being here. And yeah, we'll definitely keep fighting the good fight. And have a good Thanksgiving, man. We'll see you in the Discord.
Yes, sir. Take care, brother.
To the Redskins, the NFL team ditched.
I can't turn it up any louder, guys.
After years of criticism, group is saying, quote, "We are formally requesting the team revitalize its relationship with the American Indian community and rightfully change their name back to the Redskins. You simply cannot erase history and target the Native American community by eradicating the name Redskins." Billy Diekman is an advisor for the Native American Guardians Association. He's also a U.S. Marine and a Kiowa tribe member. And Billy joins me now. Billy, why are you fighting to bring it back?
There's a couple reasons. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Segon Pentali from the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma, also known as Billy Diekman, which is my adopted name. The deep, rich history behind the Redskins name, the myth that it means bloody scalps or something derogatory is what we're trying to dispel. It's a status symbol for elite warriors. Yeah. Only the elite warriors were allowed to participate in the blood root ceremony to go into battle. It even says in our fight song, "Braves on the warpath." The imagery that you see is that of Chief Two Guns Whitecalf. That's a real person. There's a lot of times they say, "You need to get rid of your mascot." We don't have a mascot. That's a real person.
Hmm.
That was gifted to the Redskins in the NFL by the Blackfoot tribe as a forever gift. That's one of the greatest warriors of all time. So add to that 100 years worth of history. Our fight is to reinstate this because it was taken away without consulting us, without any of our approval. And now that we're trying to get it back, we've launched a petition that has just been overwhelming. It's become a tidal wave.
Petition to change the name back has nearly 100,000 signatures. You mentioned the word warrior. You are a Marine veteran yourself, Desert Storm and Somalia. Thank you for your service. Obviously, that notion of a warrior connotes a positive thought to you. But we've been told for decades that every single Native American is offended by the name Indians, warriors, Redskins. What percentage of the people, the Native Americans that you know, are offended by the name Redskins?
Several polls have been done, independent polls. They all came back with the exact same results. 90% of natives are in approval and see it as a proud symbol. And
I'm sure that 10% are Democrats, right?
the ones that know who Chief
Elizabeth Warren.
Chief Two Guns White Calf is, it's even higher in those areas. So after the two polls that were done in 2015, they tried to redo it one more time by offering people 40 words. And what was their response? Overwhelmingly, again, pride came back, proud came back, strength came back.
Billy, do you view this as yet another attempt by liberal white America to tell a minority group like Native Americans how to think about their race, how to think about their heritage?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what we're trying to undo. There's been decades of this. In this day and age, there's still a Christopher Columbus Day in 2023. We're not taken serious. Our voice has not been heard. And that's what NAGA is designed for, to fight that and to correct some of that that's been eradicated. NAGA being the Native Americans Guardians Association.
It is a fascinating plight that you're taking up. I am curious to follow it and see where it goes with football season upon us. A lot of attention going to be on the Redskins / Commanders. Billy Diekman, thank you for your time.
All right, so sorry, but that audio was so quiet, but I thought that was a great interview, and he spelled out pointed out the fact that 90% plus of the Native Americans aren't, offended by using Chief Two Guns White Calf's image, and it was an honor. And it would be great is if the baseball team, the Cleveland Guardians, or what are they now? The Guardians. Yeah, okay. They'd go back
I
to
was
their
sad that you reminded me.
Indians thing. I think that'd be cool. I've always been waiting for teams like the Chiefs to actually be attacked for it. Yeah, we do the tomahawk chop, but little tidbit: the Kansas City Chiefs are actually named after I believe the guy was a fire chief in Kansas City, and his nickname was Chief, and he's actually a white dude or whatever. So I think he was a white dude. I don't know his exact heritage, but it's not actually a rip off of the Native Americans at all. It was actually an homage to this dude that was made a big impact in the city in Kansas City, and his nickname was Chief. So I'm sure he's maybe had some type of friendship or a connection with Lamar Hunt, the founder of the team. But like I said, they did adopt the tomahawk chop, and they used to have a guy in headdress riding horses around and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm all for the Braves being the Braves, the Cleveland Indians being the Indians, Redskins being the Redskins. It's cool. It's cool looking, and I don't think it's disrespectful at all, in my opinion.
Right. They got places like what Florida State Seminoles do. It's
Yeah.
like Washington Commanders or the Washington Redskins were the only ones that kind of like bent the knee to that pressure.
Well, the high school I went to was called the Indians. That was the mascot. And like 3 years ago, they changed their mascot. And the crazy thing is it was called the Indians because the district is literally named after the tribe that used to inhabit the territory. So there's like a district of one is like north, one is south of different high schools, but they're all have the same like name in the front of them. I'm not trying to tell you where I went to school. But
Yeah, don't dox yourself on her.
you know, there's north and there's south and east, of course, and even west, and some others. But they're all named after the tribe that was in the area, and the one that I went to used to be called the Indians, and they changed it. And I won't tell you what they changed it to, but it's just like, why? Like, why don't you change the the area that you're in too? Then, like, you really just want to erase the history like so bad. Like, just it sucks whenever you get a few woke people into this positions where they can actually make the decisions and change things like that. It's a bummer.
Yeah, showed what kind of level of sorcery that we were under, especially as an entire nation. Everybody had to bend the knee to that thing. You know, you'd risk losing your job if you were to say something at work, like, I actually think the Redskins is a good name. Like, oh no, like, oh, you did the bad, you know. It just, like, it is kind of pathetic
Yeah.
to think that we were even there as an American nation. But that was also at the height of, you know, all these other social media platforms censoring people on to smaller degrees like that too. I'm just glad we're past it.
Yeah, I see JB said here, I'm Native American. I've been called a lot worse than Redskin. I have thick skin. I don't need other people to be offended for me. And that's the specialty of the liberal, right? Today's white Democrat is be offended for everybody else, which in my opinion is actually a position of superiority. It's like, I got to go and do the work for you because I'm the white person in the scenario. So I'll represent you because you're lesser or whatever. And it's like, you realize how racist and pompous that position is that you're taking? Abigail Shepard said, this reminds me of what happened with Aunt Jemima's syrup. The woke left is actually destroying the culture by erasing these branded names and logos, thinking that everyone is offended. Yeah, exactly. And
The
on that
funniest
note,
one was the Lando Lakes one, where they
Yeah.
just took her off. It was like, we kicked her off the land, but we kept the land.
it's so stupid. But to Abigail Shepard's point, Terrence K. Williams, he went and started I can't remember the name of it, but whenever they did that whole thing to Aunt Jemima, he went and made his own like brand of pancake mix, and I think it might even have
Cousin
his picture.
T's.
Cousin T's, yeah. So where one door closes, sometimes another one opens, but yeah, it's you're still 100% right. I just thought it was funny that Terrence Williams, that he's a big Trump, or he used to be. I don't know if he still is. I don't see him a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but he capitalized on that, and I thought it was smart.
He took his pancakes down to North Carolina right after the hurricane. He was like helping serve people for free.
Nice. That's awesome. Donnie says, when you erase history, you get to rewrite it. Yeah. And then House Leotardo said they attach themselves to other causes because their numbers are small. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's where they have like that cult, like mob, like mindset. And it has literally no principle. You know, it's the death circle of ants. It's just whatever current thing is. Like, they're really like the party of current thing, the ideology of current thing. And so whatever those thought leaders or influencers say at the top, the rest just kind of gargle it down and regurgitate it. And that's now a new current thing. It's kind of sad and pathetic.
Yeah. But I mean, some of these things are symbolic that maybe the culture is turning back. The pendulum is swinging back the right direction. And hopefully that's the case. Let's see here. Moving on.
Yeah. I just thought that was hilarious meme. This is about the fact that with the InfoWars lawsuit and them being sold out to the Onion, although their judge came in and said, no, you can't buy money with credit you don't have. X and Elon Musk, I think it was X Corp is what's named in the suit. They actually wrote a court filing that says that they know they can't sell the InfoWars or Alex Jones accounts because they're owned by Elon and X. So if you can see that, it's quoting a post from Alex Jones, but it's just that top line that you need to read. Elon Musk's X Corp objects to the sale or transfer of any X accounts maintained by Alex Jones or InfoWars in the court filing. So Elon doing what he can to protect the bit of kind of, digital real estate that Alex Jones possesses, especially with having such a big account.
I'm glad I scrolled down. Yeah, and that's cool because they're trying to take everything from Alex Jones, and it's cool that Elon's kind of taking this hard stance as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I did want to talk about was the Tucker Carlson one.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip down. Sorry, I was reading through. I just want to make sure that we wanted to go straight to this one. So I will hang on.
Because I think you have one of the videos preloaded, don't you?
Yeah, there we go. I had to click the triangle again. Sorry. So I'll read the article. Well, maybe I don't need to read the article. Let me just go straight to the horse's mouth. But
Daily Mail is a trash website. When I literally click on an article from Daily Mail, I can hear my computer just like the fan just starts blowing at an insane rate. Like it's so bogged down with ads and all that other stuff.
You have to use.
I hate using it.
You have to use Brave browser.
Yeah, I need to get it. I need to set that as my default.
Yeah,
I'm using Chrome because when I open up all these things here, it switches to Chrome, so it opens up in Chrome.
yeah, you definitely should do that because I have to make my videos whenever I do anything. I can't read articles from Chrome because ads just paste, and I'll scroll and the ad still stays right there. So it's like I gotta use Brave, man.
Yeah, you have like this much real estate to read off of.
Yeah, and then I'm advertising for free, and it's just like, no, that's not how this goes.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Sorry, I see Anthony P's comment. I think he might be a little behind on the stream. He's talking about Kamal.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, she can been crying after November 5th until now. She can't laugh like a hyena anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why she pictured with wine and being sedated on different substances anytime we've seen her on video since then. And I would like to say too, we only watched a 30-second snippet. There's actually like the fuller one's like 9.5 minutes, and it doesn't get any better. It's like all the same.
Yeah, I was trying to find a longer version, but that one was the same 30 seconds. It was being retweeted by a lot of people, but you pretty much get the gist just by looking at her and listening to her for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It's just like, it's all word
Right.
salad anyways. The pendulum wants to swing back, but rhinos stand in the way. I know it's pathetic.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. So anyways, we'll read a little bit of this and then I'll play the video for you because it's actually a 10-minute video. But Tucker Carlson stuns podcast host as he makes wild claim about who's really running Biden's White House. And that's all I'm going to read on that. Let's just go.
Do you feel the crazy
straight to the video? And I got it already saved and set up.
Yeah, rhinos need primaried.
Yeah,
All of them.
we can start with the 4 that we're going to block Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
Bobcat said Brave is the bomb. Yeah, Brave's the way to go, man. If you're trying to read articles, if you're trying to do anything without ads, Brave is. They even actually have a wallet. You can set up a crypto wallet, and they'll pay you a little bit of crypto for using Brave, especially whenever you go to like the some sites like pay more than others or whatever. But
Interesting.
I actually get a few bucks a month just using Brave browser into that free wallet. I don't know, it's worth setting it up if you guys are into that type of stuff. Not financial advice, but
Yeah, you gotta give the disclaimer.
Just got a disclaimer whenever you're talking about it. Let's switch over to that so you can see the full screen. Okay. So check this out.
You even have, I was stunned by something top Ukrainian commander Zaluzhny just said this week. I mean, he said he was in one of his master's homes in the UK, in Britain, where he was meeting with Ukrainian troops, of course, who are being trained there in the UK. And he told the troops there that there's almost no hope for your survival and that you need to go to the front lines basically knowing you're going to die. And I mean, that's quite a prep talk. And I mean, so for this like vicious proxy war, kill
Right.
or be killed. And this is the truth of it. You know, over 1 million Ukrainians dead now, or permanently maimed, an entire generation of young men wiped out, a country destroyed. And they're still trying to sell this thing. And then, of course, over the past few days, we've seen the madness that is unfolding in the White House, allowing long-range missiles to be used from Ukraine at NATO's direction. Make no mistake, anyone watching this knows that Ukrainians don't even know how to use these missiles. It's NATO that's doing it, of course, and attacking inside of Russia. And now, and then with add on top of that, the Biden administration now has okayed anti-personnel mines to be used, something they've long said, absolutely, we won't use. These are basically a lot of like the same pedal mines that are thrown into the ground in Donetsk and the Donbass region, and children go to the playgrounds and they find these little pedal mines that look like leaves. They pick them up and their arms are blown off or they're killed. And the Biden administration was absolutely against this. This was their stance. And now suddenly, within the past week, all of this has changed. So who the hell is running the White House? I mean, you've got, again, I know you're humble about this, but you've got amazing sources there. Like, Biden is not, who is running the White House? Like, who is our de facto president? Is it Antony Blinken right now? Is it Jake Sullivan? Who is doing this?
Well, if you'd asked me yesterday morning, I would have said Tony Blinken, who has been running it since the beginning. But now I would say Satan, because I really think that you've got, dark forces in charge. I mean, there's no justification for using anti-personnel mines in this conflict, which can't hope to be solved with anti-personnel mines, resolved in any way. The only effect of that move is to kill innocents, period. That's it. That's the only effect. And they know that. And so they're doing it anyway, because killing is the point. So it's evil. I think we should say that. I don't think it's a matter of defending democracy. The president of Ukraine is not elected. He's a dictator. He literally passed his term and kept serving. He's a dictator. And that country's shut down a Christian denomination, put priests in jail. Like, how many more markers of dictatorship do you need to call it what it is, which is totalitarian? So everything about it is horrifying. I'm so glad that you mentioned what's happening in the UK and France. There's the complicity of Western European countries in this. Really, I hope books are written about it, but there's something about a dying empire, collapsing demographically, totally pointless finance-based economy, no self-respect at all, nihilism rising. There's something about that mix, the final days of a dying civilization, that causes it to lash out in this kind of orgy of killing for its own sake. It's really the darkest thing I could. It's like you imagine Rome collapsing and the Vandals toppling buildings and having orgies in the streets and all that stuff. Really, it's the end of an empire is more like a kind of suicide, a kind of murder suicide, where the formerly great power kills itself and then takes a lot of people out as it does. It's like more horrifying than I ever thought. Reading about the end of Rome. And I think it's probably pretty consistent over time. I mean, this is what partition was in India. The Second World War ends, Britain, quote, wins, but really they've lost and they have to give up India, and which they've had for 300 years. And rather than figure out a sort of good way to do it, they just like pull out basically in one day and allow this massive carnage, between Indians, between Sikhs and Muslims and Hindus in India, in which hundreds of thousands of people died. That did not need to happen. Why did the British do that? Because there's something about the end of something great that's always ugly and vicious and violent. hurtful to those around it. You know, there's like deep stuff going on here that I don't, trust me, I do not pretend to understand all of this stuff, but like the behavior of France and particularly Great Britain, which itself has become totalitarian, where lots of Britons, native-born Britons, are in prison for posting social media opinions, and they're in jail for that. Like, that's not a free country.
Right.
It's a totalitarian country. Same with Canada. Same with New Zealand. Same with Australia. It's like, what the hell is going on? It'll be hundreds of years before some wise person can assess what happened to the English-speaking world, you know, 20 years into the 21st century. But all at once, they decided to kill themselves and a lot of other people on the way out. It's really amazing.
You know, it's easy to say, oh, it's the globalists. It's this part of this globalist agenda. They want to get rid of nation states, right? They want to devalue the US dollar and US currency to create a global currency. They don't want boundaries. They don't want borders. They don't want massive population either. You know, and I think about that often, and I have to kind of pull myself back from that cliff a little bit. But then I keep walking up to the cliff because I keep seeing signs that that's true. And it's deeply, deeply disturbing. And, you know, and you see what's happening with Trump right now and these dark forces that are surrounding him. You know, I think you tweeted the other day, I think you said something like, the prayers of good people got Donald Trump elected 2 weeks ago. Wars with Russia and Iran are the counterattack. And I know you don't post a lot on X. Like when you do, it's never. Yeah. I mean, but it's very thoughtful. And it's for a purpose, right? So when I saw that, I just shook my head thinking, my God, well, if this is the counterattack, who's the counterattack from? I mean, this is some dark force that's really trying to undermine this Trump administration, right? I mean, and it's so evil. I mean, have you ever seen an administration like this where leaving office, you try to drag the next administration into a world war? I mean, I get what the Clintons did. Leaving office, they removed the W's from the keyboards for George W. Bush. Like, you know, like
I remember that.
This is totally different.
Well, look, I'm hardly a theologian. I mean, I'm the opposite of a theologian. I don't understand really anything about theology and really don't care to. But I just have noticed through years of observation that there is a kind of dualism isn't exactly the right word, but there is a war in the unseen world between light and darkness, good and bad. It's been described by every civilization since the beginning of time. So I think we can assume it's real. And you do see that, you know, expressions of good, manifestations of good are sometimes followed and vice versa by outbursts of evil. And I don't think there's any other way to read that. And by counterattack in that tweet, which I wrote this morning, I don't have my Twitter password. So I, you know, sent it to my office and said, please tweet this. Thought of it in my sauna this morning, but I was just brooding on it and saying prayers about it. And I was like, I think Trump, I don't know that Trump's like a super faithful Christian or anything, but I know a lot of very faithful Christians prayed for Trump. And I think it had an effect. I think it was the determinative effect. I really believe that. And
I do too.
The counterattack is promoting war for its own sake without any promise of any kind of meaningful victory. Truly war for the sake of killing people, totally unadorned. No one's even pretending that we're going to get democracy or something if these missiles kill Putin. I mean, there's no argument even. It's like, no, we're killing because we can. That is the definition of evil. And if I could just say one thing that does distress me about American society is that not enough time has been spent thinking about how violence is bad. Violence is bad. It just is. I'm sorry. And a lot of people that I like, I've worked with, have defended violence over the years. And I think self-defense is legitimate. But killing people for the sake of killing them because you don't like them or you think they represent something bad, that's evil. I just want to be clear. Violence is bad. And by the way, if you're a Christian, it's not allowed. It's super obvious you don't need to be a theologian to glean that from the New Testament. You're not allowed to do that. Jesus is being hauled away to be tortured to death on false charges. And, you know, one of his guys raises a sword against one of the people carrying him away, dragging him off to get tortured to death. And Jesus scolds the man with the sword, who's doing it on his behalf, says, put that away. And so we are not allowed to commit violence against people, except I would argue maybe under self-defense, you know, in a self-defense scenario. But certainly not so we can feel powerful or because we're annoyed or because we don't like a certain president or something. It's like, it's nuts. And because not enough people say that, it goes unquestioned. But it is bad. And it doesn't, I've seen a lot of violence, you know, a lot. And I don't know, probably more than Toria Newland has seen. So I think people who've seen it are not quite as enthusiastic about it. I mean, I was never in the military, but I've been around that stuff when people get hurt, and it's like, no, this is not good at all. And anyone who thinks it's good is a freak.
Yeah, you freaks.
Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of thoughts on what he
Yeah.
said there. I guess one of the opening ones would be, I think is 100% right. I'm glad he at least prefaces by the fact that, he's not a theologian, and he's a layman, but I think every person, whether you're a theologian or not, it's good to have an understanding of what the most, scribed book of all time is, and get an idea of the fact that these things are real. It's not a matter of supernatural and relativism. It is the fact that there has been a battle of good versus evil from the inception of everything being created. And people know this too who follow me. I'm a Christian nationalist, and there are probably smaller points I would correct on the violence argument that Tucker Carlson rattled off. But overall, the main point is true. Like, violence is bad. You should strive to not to be violent with one another in a lot of different means too. But the reason why you see, not even just in the fact of like the empire wanting to take all these people out on its way down, is because it wants to protect itself. And kind of what we alluded to earlier. If we were to turn over names and their actions and their crimes, and the American populace would see these things, they would say, they'd scream from the rooftops, things that I can't say on YouTube, because that's just what would be deemed to be just, and deserving for the things that they've done and committed against the American people. And, I'm glad House Leotardo said that too. There's self-defense, and as it's described by, and forgive me because someone might be able to correct me, but Saint Aquinas, in regards to the Crusades as well, right? There comes a point when it comes to threaten the actual posterity and existence of your people, you got to take action. In the specifics of what he's referring to with Peter drawing his sword, is also the fact that he was not to interfere with the prophecy and him coming to fulfill the covenant, less so more about the specific action of the violence occurring.
Yeah.
And Donnie's rattling some off here too as well. It's kind of that old argument you can also point up to, where, say someone breaks into your home and they go to threaten your wife and your children, and you stand there and just try to talk them down. Well, the end result of that is not going to be the person just like, it's like, oh yeah, you're right, I shouldn't do this. It'll be your children and losing your wife in that instance. So there's like a bit of categorical distinctions that have to be made on those regards. But the overall point being is that when it comes to these never-ending wars, when it comes to, causing wars and killing people for the sake of ensuring the petrodollar has meaning, ensuring that the military industrial complex can continue churning, ensuring that all of these high stake index companies have something to keep their bottom line, that's when it becomes truly evil. And so these decisions aren't made from a perspective of conquest. They're not made from a perspective of defense. They're made from, who do we have to bomb to ensure that money rolls into the right pockets to protect the global banking system and everything that's tied to that? And the end result is what you see now. And so you also got to think too, whether these people believe they are carrying out the work of Satan himself, and like, kind of thinking out loud, like, I'm doing this for Satan. It's like they're still doing it under the guise of that, right? So you don't have to like be completely aware of what you're doing is outright evil, but doing it just for these selfish regards and means. And it's part of the reason why we're all given a conscience, right? There's very rare exceptions where we see in like serial killers where these guys just don't have consciences. But the average person, you could hardly rob like a candy bar from a grocery store without being like, I shouldn't have done that. So when you kind of scale that up to where you're at and you're seeing these decisions being made, these people are going very, very, very harsh against those consciences. And I think there's a certain point where you do that so often or to such a great degree, you accept that you've sold your soul and you betrayed yourself for something here on earth. And the end result we get is all of this kind of debauchery and degeneracy and violence happening all overseas. You're being lied to nonstop. And who else would be running the White House, right? And like everything we've even talked about here today is like nothing that's been done by America for I can't think of how many years has been righteous, has been for the little man, has been for good, has been to protect even our own people. It's been nothing for the nation state. It's all been in the name of the empire. And, I say this all the time, like we are the stormtroopers. America became the empire a long time ago. And I think it was a great answer by Tucker Carlson. I think a lot of this was even sparked by the fact that he was one of the people who got leaked initially all of the was it Bluebeam, Project Bluebeam, and a lot of details that came out of there actually line up with things that come from the Book of Enoch. That's not in most standard Bibles, but the Book of Enoch is what talks about the Nephilim, and the fallen angels and the beings that have been here on this earth that are not man and not gods either, but something in between that. And so you kind of compare all that together. You've been in politics that long and you've seen it so much. I think a rational mind comes to the rational conclusion that it is good versus evil.
Yeah, 100% agree. And the part of this is, I think it's cool is that Tucker's going on this like spiritual journey. We showed a couple weeks ago him talk about a story where he was literally attacked by an entity, a demon or whatever in his sleep. I think it was in his sleep, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, so he got scratched almost a year ago, and he didn't talk about it publicly until he got interviewed. But he said he still has the scar marks to this day.
And then he said something about recently. He didn't want to elaborate, but he was basically saying that he thinks that because he kind of came out and ended up saying it later on, but he was saying that he thinks that aliens are demons. All that type of stuff. So it's interesting the spiritual journey that he's going on. I wanted to actually mention CB. He said this right here. I love Tucker. I saw him on tour this summer. He was awesome. Nice guy, nationalism, US with a heart. I was curious. I went and saw him too. Was this dude Joe from Texas at yours too? I like that guy. He's cool. He's an old cowboy dude, and he's fighting to save Social Security. And so you can actually go to joefromtexas.com and check that out because I thought that was pretty cool. Social Security is something that's important to me. I want it to be there when it's my time to retire. I've paid a lot of money into Social Security over my lifetime, and he was there. That's cool. Yeah, I saw him in the concourses. I went and shook his hand and talked to him for a couple minutes or a minute or whatever. I thought it was kind of cool. But anyways, Social Security is important to me, and it's like I said, I want it to be there for me, and I think every American should take it, even if you're rich or whatever, because if you're paying into it, it's there for you, and you trust the government to basically invest it for you. And when it comes to if they just required me to put that in my own investment account, I would have a lot more money. So you know what I'm saying? That's how it goes for every American. And so I mean, I just I want Social Security to be protected, and I really prefer that Donald Trump and whoever is the president, going forward, I think they should fight to try to reduce retirement age. Instead, it's every so many years they add a year to it, and it just seems to be this like inevitable to fail, type of thing, especially with the way that they're importing all these illegal immigrants. They're here illegally, but then they go through that CBP app. They're put on asylum. They're given work visas. Next thing you know, they're going to want to vote, and they're going to want Social Security when they retire. And it's going to go away really fast if that happens. If we put 40 million people straight on Social Security over the next couple of years because of the amount of people that have come into our country, Social Security has no chance.
Well, while I don't have the numbers in front of me, I actually disagree. But I will say I disagree with the caveat that I'm younger. So it's probably easier for me to say, like, I don't care about Social Security. But I disagree for the reason being that we spoke about earlier with, the Fukushima and walking into the nuclear reactor for the younger generations. Also, I do appreciate that, Donnie. I hope I've been spitting hard. The main idea of Social Security is really that you are borrowing from the younger generation's present time to pay for the older generation's future. And while I don't have the numbers in front of me, the current system and the way that it's been managed right now, it's unsustainable. It's going to be a huge burden to continue carrying out without finding another way to be able to fund Social Security programs. Now, part of this is the fact that it reaches into things like Medicare, or what's it called? Yeah, Medicare and Medicaid. Social Security has like different branches and programs where it funds different aspects of people's lives. But on the principle that, you know, when you're wanting to build a nation, you would want the development and growth to go into the youth, right? You would want the youth to be what gets the benefit of programs to be able to build themselves up, not to, be able to provide a more comfier retirement. And
Yep.
it's not saying I'm anti-retirement by any means. It's more so to say the way that things are structured, there is an incentivation, or you're incentivized rather, to work to a certain point to like kind of branch off, and then you have this kind of safety network. But the safety network only exists if people are continually kind of made to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to able to work it around to where people were much better off, earlier on, and I'd say Social Security is like this big burden on people, but the way that it plays out when the numbers on the system is a massive burden. So if people were
Yeah.
just more better off and more willing to be and get invested into, you would probably be able to set up retirement in a much more hands-on way, rather than
Yeah.
everything kind of being, handed off to the government, and the government kind of dictating, how much retirement you have, what age you can retire at.
Yeah, well, that's what I was
So-
referring to. If I would have been able to keep all the money that I paid into Social Security and put it into an investment account or something that collects compounding interest or whatever over that amount of time, I'd probably have a lot more money in my own account for me to spend at my own leisure than relying on the government to give me a monthly check for the rest of my life after that. You know what I mean? I'll probably never be able
Yeah.
to get that. So that's just to your point.
Yeah. Well, it works it to a point where politically it's like unfeasible to even, say anything against it. Because if you ran on a platform that was to remove the bottom out from Social Security, even if you did it in like a progressive way, right? Like if you were like, well, Social Security, we're going to slowly wean it down over 5 years. People in the older generations who heavily rely on that in the different programs it has would not vote for it regardless. You would make a lot of people single issue voters, because what's the likelihood that a 77-year-old person goes back into the workforce in any kind of meaningful way? You kind of would really shorten lifespans by doing that. And so I would hope in the future we can find a way to do something along those lines to fix that.
Well, my proposal was for every time Congress wants to send money to a foreign war or to a foreign country, you match it dollar for dollar and you stick it in Social Security. If you want to send $200 billion to Ukraine, you put $200 billion into Social Security. Simply America first. If you're going to fund it, if you can afford it, then you put it into the fund for Americans as well. I've realized that's probably complete unimaginable, but it makes more sense to me that you would give that money to Americans in retirement and take care of the people that have worked with their bodies and broken their bodies down so that the system can function, rather than just pissing it away to kill people over in a different land or whatever the reason you're sending it over there. I know there was a bill that they sent like $10 million to Sri Lanka or something like that, where they could research transgender frogs or some weird shit like that. Like, I can't remember what the actual scenario was, but it was something weird, like complete off the
gender studies program.
Yeah.
It's like $8 billion or something like that.
Yeah, if they're gonna do that, they got to match that dollar for dollar to into Social Security, just straight up. But I wanted to address this question from JB. He asked, do illegals pay taxes? And then he said, well, sales tax, I guess, but what about income tax? And the answer is no. I've worked with plenty of illegal immigrants in my life, just shoulder to shoulder. And two things I learned about them real quick is most of them can speak English, even though they claim they can't. Well, I guess three things. The second one is if they get deported, they will be back in 2 weeks. That's the time frame. And the third thing is they claim 9 dependents on their paychecks using a Social Security number that's not connected to them. And so they get their full amount of their paycheck, their weekly paycheck. They claim 9 dependents. They have 0 taxes or very bare minimum taxes taking out of their actual check week to week. And then when it comes down to the end of the year, like if you and I, if we didn't have 9 dependents and we claim that on our paycheck, we go to file our taxes at the end of the year, we'll owe right? Well, it's not connected to their social security number. So it's just a wash, or it's not even a wash. It's washed away. They don't pay their annual income taxes, and then they don't pay anything out of their paycheck. So no, they don't pay taxes as it relates to their paycheck ever. They do pay sales taxes because they're obviously purchasing stuff in our country, but a lot of times they go to the little stores that are specific, and so they're even keeping it within their kind of the money that they spend within their own little communities and stuff like that too. So, you know, they just create
Yeah.
little Italy or little Mexico or little whatever, and then they live in their little area, and that's been my experience. I've lived it. I've seen it. So yeah, no, they're not paying any type of income taxes at all. And I've also heard that they vote. You know, they've told me themselves. I mean, they could have been lying. We'll take it with a grain of salt. But when I'm having conversation with the guy working next to me, these are the things that I learned.
It's unfortunate. House Leotardo says Bush used Social Security funds to fund the global war on terror. And that's what I mean. It allows like this huge kind of reserve that you can pull from. And, you know, honestly, like I was thinking about it too, you know, I think anyone who kind of brings forward a bill or votes yay or sponsors a bill, rather co-sponsors any kind of munitions, send over or aid in any kind of military sense, you got to pick somebody each time. Each time you sign a bill, one of those people from the committee have to go serve. Give them an AR, send them over there, put them in charge of a unit if you have to, whatever gets them overseas to actually fight in the things that they support. And then we could see really like who would be willing to take that Russian roulette game of who's going to get sent over there.
Right. What did you see? Liz Cheney, who supported Kamala Harris, actually called her out for being like a drunk in that video that we played earlier.
No, I didn't.
She came out and spoke against Kamala Harris earlier this year or earlier this week, as it related to that drunken video we played. I thought it was pretty funny because
she's working her way back into the Republican Party,
co-signing. Yeah. So I mean, you just mentioned, you know, people got to put their hide where their mouth is, type of thing, and where their pin is. It reminded me of that. But also to your point, you know, bills moving forward, I think that folks should, or I think that bills should be reduced to 1, 2, 3 pages, one topic bills. You know, you can't submit a stack of papers this thick in a bill and pass it in 24 hours. Like, it should be illegal, a federal crime for any of these leaders, these people in Congress, or anybody that's signing off on a bill or voting on a bill to actually vote on it if they haven't read and understand every single word of it. They themselves, not their staff, they themselves. And so the only way for that is for these bills to be minimized. And then you don't have, like what I mentioned earlier, the $8 million going over to the Sri Lankan transgender or whatever it was, that type of stuff. You don't get all that pork, you don't get all this bull crap, and you simplify it. And it, you know, it's funny because conservative, you're trying to conserve, you would want things to be held accountable and simplified, and then liberal, they just want to throw more money at everything, and because money fixes the problem. At least in their mind.
Many people think, ban what is it called? Omnibills.
Yeah.
Multi-legged bills that have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
And that's how you get the fighting with, like, on the Senate floor. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll pass your anti-filibustering thing as long as we send $12 million to Somalia, and we do, and it's ridiculous. Like, they have nothing to do with each other. It's just like a broken system.
Totally. Well, do you want to do any of these one-offs, or do you think we should just go ahead and wrap it up with that? I'm kind of inclined to just think we should wrap it up there. We've gone 40 minutes over the time, and appreciate everybody being here. Yeah, I see the numbers kind of dropping off too. I think people are kind of getting a little wore out, trying to move into the evening pre-Thanksgiving. I know people got family in town, all that type of stuff, or looking to travel, so you got to get to bed early. I know me myself, I still got a bunch of stuff to do. I got to ball up. I got to make the little dough balls for the yeast rolls and let them sit and rise, and amongst a few other things to prep for tomorrow. So got a big day tomorrow, but at some point I will be sleeping on the couch with a full belly. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that and relaxing for the weekend and jumping back into the next stream, which will be on Saturday at 6 p.m. We might have a guest. It is all but confirmed that we'll have a guest. I think you guys are going to like this dude, especially if you're a veteran, if you're a pro-military, that type of stuff. This dude actually is working in that space, and it's going to be interesting having a conversation with him and letting you guys know about what this dude does for the military and the foundation that he's supporting and stuff like that. So make sure you stop in for that Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. 90% sure he'll be here. He said that he's traveling, but he thinks Saturday will work. So I'm planning on it, but unless he has to reschedule, which will be fine, we'll have him on at a later time. But might have that in store for you on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. You can find me over on X. It's at Warrol, WARROL. I was going to put it on the screen, but that's okay. I just spelled it. Make sure you guys do hit the like button. If you're on X watching this, please do repost it. Hit the like button, all that type of stuff. Every little bit helps us grow, and we appreciate it. Join the Discord. The link is in the description. If you're on X, there isn't a Discord link, so you can click on my profile, go to my channel, find this video on YouTube. I know it's a couple steps, but we'd love to see you guys in the Discord and join the family, and it's growing every day. And we also give people opportunities to come on the show, be a guest, especially if you have your own channel. We believe in helping each other out around here, so we'd love to see you there. And then, as always, like and subscribe the video. Like and subscribe on YouTube itself. I'm the host of America First TV. I got some shirts coming. I got some nice shirts in. This one came in this week. I have a couple more that I had, or one more that I had delivered that I've been wearing in about half my videos. And then we're going to actually get some jar opener stuff put together in the store as well with our little logo that you can see on the screen, which I really like. But anyways, let them know where they can find you, and we'll wrap this one up.
Yeah, you can find me on X and YouTube, mainly my two main platforms. For those who want to find us directly, I even included World's link in there too, in the description below. So go and check that out. Join the Discord. And also, if you want to know a little bit more about the controversy regarding the wife jack meme, I streamed on that yesterday. It's probably like a singular topic stream. And looking forward to seeing more people grow and join in. We appreciate everybody, and the chat's part of the reason what keeps us going and keeps us stimulated and what we're talking about these things, especially if anyone disagrees or has a different counterpoint. We love to explore all that kind of stuff. So appreciate you coming in, and everybody have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, have a happy Thanksgiving, and Christ is King.
Christ is King.
All right, later, y'all.
Peace.
With war, world and Atlas Thug, we here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast, we breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass, Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up, we won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast, where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas Thug, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast, where the lies will decrease.